Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Collegiate iRacing League's College Cup Series, our Ignition Zone pre-race show, the ultimate experience that's about to ignite your passion for speed, power, and adrenaline-fueled action. I'm Zach Lindler in the booth tonight, alongside Alex Gagnon, with Christian and Keith on production tonight. We're here to relive the pulse-pounding moments from the last race, where the inches made all the difference and speed and strategy collide on the asphalt battleground, as well as look to tonight's race, the Bluegrass 250 from Kentucky Speedway. Alex, this is going to be a fun race, but before we get into tonight, let's take a look at last week's race from Las Vegas Speedway, our Jackpot 200, a very, very tense, exciting, drama-filled race that was won in proper Vegas fashion by Gamble. And we're ready for the recap. Made the hard left onto pit road. Barney's got the green flag in hand. Someone pull the lever. The slot machines are spinning, and we are racing in Vegas.
Now here goes Newbinging. The 79 sideways. The King's College driver sliding back onto the front stretch. That'll certainly bring out the caution. And heavy contact for Matthew Nordberg, and he's flipping.
Nordberg on his lid as the 79 slid in front of him. Nowhere to go for that NC State driver. Drew Jawad, last week's runner-up, called his shot, said, "My win is coming. I'm going to make it happen." And he has done it. He's going to cross the line and win at Vegas.
Chattahoochee Technical picks up the win. The podium rounded out by Jake Cummings with the rebound off the rough restart, and Clint Halterman for UNC Charlotte turns it on late and will round out the top three.
As you saw a couple of highlights from last week's Jackpot 200, a very exciting, drama, chaos-filled race, Alex. I think I'd nominate that as the best race we've had this season so far.
Yeah, I mean, start to finish, there was plenty of action throughout the field from last week at Vegas. Ends with a Drew Jawad W there for Chattahoochee Technical after coming so close the first two races of the season. Finally, he's able to close one out here and get the W. So far through four races, four different winners, most of them in their first season here in the CIL. So it's really been the case of newcomers have been running the show so far this season in the CIL.
And it seemed to be the case ever since we started this playoff system last season. And even last fall, we had a bunch of rookies that came into the show guns a-blazing. They have really made a name for themselves, and like you said, we've had four different winners at four different races this season so far. All of them have been rookies, so they've definitely come out to play. The rookies, the first years are I guess in collegiate terms here, we could call them the freshmen here, the CIL. They're coming to play, and some of them, I think, can have a real serious shot at taking home the College Cup Series title this time around.
I mean, yeah, they really have had a really good show of it, but it's not been all newcomers, but there has been quite a few. If we're looking at the current standings thus far, I mean, so far with that win, Drew Jawad has bumped up into the number one spot so far. Currently sitting in first place in the standings with 116 points through four races. But then you have a couple of folks who have been here before, done that, and have won championships at some level, or at least won races here in the CIL. You've got Colin Kolpa, who currently sits second, the alumni from Indiana. You've got Matt O'Brien, who represents Michigan Tech. He's a rookie this year. In third, Drew Williams from Clemson is fourth. Clint Halterman from UNC Charlotte, another veteran, is fifth. So a good mix through the top five there. And right now, the top five only separated by 14 points through four races here.
Yeah, it's a really tight fight up at the top. Obviously, Jawad, Matt O'Brien, Timothy J. Moore, our Daytona 250 champ. He's in the mix as well, running there in sixth. But I think one of the storylines that we're going to have to keep an eye on as the season progresses, Logan Clampett came to the second race of the season at Auto Club won from the pole, and by virtue of that win has locked himself into the playoffs. But with the new rules in the College Cup Series this season, he has to at least start every single race in the regular season from here on out. They altered the rule from last season, so instead of having to finish in the top X% of the standings or the top Y places, you have to be in at least 6 of the 9 regular season races. Logan has missed 3 so far. I believe he's in the session for Kentucky tonight, but he's going to at least have to start every race from here on out if he wants to keep his spot in the playoffs. So surely we'll know in a few weeks' time whether or not he's going to maintain that spot, but that could surely sow some drama later on in the season.
Yeah, 100%. That's going to be something to keep an eye on. Looking at the top couple schools so far on the student division side, Chattahoochee Technical is the current collegiate leader through 4 races. UNC Charlotte sitting in second, with Clemson, Nova Scotia Community College, and Ball State currently in the top 5, and a lot of hungry schools behind them as well. But right now, a lot of familiar faces up toward the top. But right now, step number 1 on the podium is Chattahoochee Technical, a school who is brand new to the CIL this season.
Yeah, and towards our alumni side, Indiana University, Colin Kolpa having a great season. As we know, he's running second in the points, which, by the way, you can see the points scrolling on the bottom of the screen. He's had a breakout season. He's the reigning alumni champion, but was a top 15 driver last season. He's consistently been getting top 5 finishes this time around. So good to see him really picking up on that consistency. But both he and Indiana University are leading the alumni standings. Manhattanville College running second right now, 7 points behind Indiana. And then Wingate University, St. Clair College, and Clemson University rounding out the top 5 on our alumni side. So still very tight championships going into, I believe this is round 5, halfway through the regular season. So tonight's race will definitely be pivotal in these championships. One race can make or break your shot at the title. These schools and drivers in the top 5 of each of our championships up for grabs have been proving their consistency and their skill. But we want to highlight one driver in particular. So I believe it was 2 weeks ago, was the eNASCAR College iRacing Series race at Daytona International Speedway. A lot of money up for grabs. A lot of CIL drivers participated, but one driver that participated and finished really well, in fact, on the overall podium in the A main, was Garrett Vighton for Arizona State after surviving the massive last lap crash that pretty much took out the entire field. And I believe, Garrett, you took home $800 in cold hard cash from that race?
550.
550. That's still a lot of money.
Yeah, it's still a little. Anything helps, right?
Absolutely.
I mean,
well, congratulations on
that's a half month of rent right there.
Basically,
yeah. Well, Garrett, congratulations on being the standard bearer of the CIL there in the eNASCAR series at the moment. Take us through that last lap crash. Kind of how you got through it, whether it was by skill or sheer dumb luck, and take us through your reaction when you realized you got third overall.
So just trying to get through the wreck. It was, last lap. It was Daytona. Everyone's trying to get everything they can. I had actually had some damage, so I wasn't able to get any really good runs, and I was just sitting 20th, basically, 21st, I think, and I saw them wrecking. I went below the down onto the apron, and I prayed that I did not come back up on track and that no one hit me. I actually did get some help. Brandon Schulenberger he hit somebody into me, and we ended up, I helped the car turn a little bit even and got through it. And the entire last half lap, I was just in shock, basically. I know there was a video going around of from my stream. I believe Terry Radford posted it. Even eNASCAR and iRacing posted it as well.
Yeah, it really seemed like you had quite the onboard there. And correct me if I'm wrong, but that was the season opener for the eNASCAR series for the fall, right?
Yes, that was a season opener. They're doing a year-long season now instead of just semesters. We got Charlotte up next. I think in a week and a half, 2 weeks
Gotcha.
maybe.
Does your podium from Daytona lead into some confidence going into Charlotte, being like, all right, hey, maybe not exactly how we drew it up, but right now we're sitting in a really good spot as time goes on.
Definitely a really good spot in regards to points. Since they take your best four finishes for the best 4 points finishes for the championship race. Um, Charlotte, it's a tough track. We're actually going into the NASCAR trucks for this race, so that's definitely going to be a little bit different. They drive totally different than Xfinity, and confidence, yeah, but you're racing the best guys in the world, really. So it's going to be a grind.
Well, a grind indeed, and I'm sure you've been grinding out those time trial laps. Like you said, the race in about a week, 2 weeks from now. How are you looking for getting back into the A main and getting some more points and maybe another cold hard cash payout?
Well, we're sitting 21st right now. Hold on, I gotta mute race
Ooh.
control. We're sitting 20th, 21st right now, about 500ths off the leader. But it's super tight. It's a lot more competitive this year than it was last year. Um, and you know, yeah, I'm somewhat comfortable, but I think it's going to be even lower than where I'm sitting right now with my 500s off the leader.
500ths is not a lot, but it could certainly make or break it. We're hoping that you can make the show. We'd love to see you back out there again representing the CIL in eNASCAR. But we're going to let you head back and start your qualifying laps for tonight's Bluegrass 200. I know you're excited for tonight's race, and we want to wish you the best of luck out there, and hopefully we'll talk to you after the show.
Thank you. I need all the luck I can get with this thing.
Absolutely. Take it easy, man.
Thanks. Have a good one.
That was Garrett Vighton. Again, if you want to go rewatch that eNASCAR race, I'm sure it's up all over the iRacing YouTube and Twitch channels. Just Google the eNASCAR College iRacing Series from Daytona International Speedway. A lot of College Cup Series drivers in that field. Garrett Vighton, Arizona State was one of them. Drexel University's Jason Wallet in there as well. Clemson had Jake Hall, Brandon Schulenberger from Wingate University as well. I think he and Garrett are teammates. Among the drivers that I can think of off the top of my head that were that participated in that race. But even kind of going down the order, our Muhammad Ali from Ball State actually pushed Athena LeClaire from St. Clair College to the win of the B main event as well. So CIL drivers all the way up and down the rosters there and pulling home some incredible finishes for our league. We're super proud of all of them.
Yeah, I mean, it just goes to show that every year, to Garrett's point, not only does the eNASCAR scene get more competitive year over year, so does the CIL. Every year, you get more and more competitive drivers in. It's really cool to see how those leagues kind of translate from one to another. Like, all right, if you're a big name here in the CIL, how is that going to carry over to eNASCAR? If you're someone who's done eNASCAR or like Coke Series stuff before and you come to the CIL, what kind of levels of success could you find? The more opportunities to go between leagues, between brands per se. It's just a good opportunity for everybody involved as far as getting more people involved in the scene of collegiate iRacing.
Yeah, one of the drivers that actually found out about the CIL through eNASCAR, Matthew Morton from Ohio State University. I remembered him off the top of my head. He did really well over the summer in our Gen 4 College Cup Series season. And he's hoping to translate some of that success on the eNASCAR side and from the summer series into hopefully his first next-gen win this season in the College Cup Series. But we're running out of time before the race begins. So we're going to take a quick break before then. But we are going to be right back with tonight's coverage of the Bluegrass 200 from Kentucky Speedway. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you guys in about 5 minutes. Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Collegiate iRacing League, where tonight we head to the land of bourbon, bluegrass, and horse racing. Though tonight's race will have a lot more horses and power. Welcome to the Bluegrass 200 from Kentucky Speedway. Tonight, our drivers take to the Blue Ridge foothills and the Ohio River side to duke it out in round 5 of our College Cup Series for a coveted spot in this season's playoffs. Currently, 4 spots have been taken, with 6 more up for grabs. Will we see our rookies go 5 for 5 in wins this season? Or will one of our titans, like Zach DeWale, Drew Williams, Tim Robb, or our Muhammad Alif, become the first seasoned driver to find victory lane this season? We'll find out in about 200 miles time, as I'm your host for this evening, Lindler, alongside Alex Gagnon in the booth. And Alex, this is shaping up to be an extremely exciting race tonight based off of what we saw last week at Vegas.
Yeah, I mean, so far this season, we've been treated to a lot of really quality racing and a lot of really quality finishes. And with 1.5-mile tracks being back-to-back weeks here, first at Las Vegas, where we put on quite the show, and now coming here to Kentucky, they're definitely not laid out the same. You definitely can't drive Vegas and Kentucky the same. But we do have a pretty good track record so far this season on these 1.5-mile tracks, and I'm looking forward to see what the drivers bring tonight to a track that, if you're not careful, will set your right front tire on flames. It will just be, it's gone immediately.
Yes. This track, this concrete surface absolutely chews up tires and spits them out. That's actually the first key in my strategy keys to tonight's race. It's going to be a hot, slick concrete surface. So watch your right front, watch your right rear, make sure you're not overheating them. I think our fastest drivers are going to be the ones that put in the most consistent lap times and can really conserve their tires and use them later on in the runs. My second point is pit strategy. Our window is anywhere from about 35 to 50 laps up on the high end. So I've got a 2-stop strategy in my notes right now. Of course, cautions can and probably will throw a wrench in that. But look for green flag stops to open up around lap 40 to 50, close at lap 50, and then again from lap 85 to 105. And then they'll be able to go to the end of the race. And my third key is patience. Be patient, patient, patient. Turns 1 and 2 are very fast and very hard on the tires compared to turns 3 and 4. So you're going to want to be patient and wait for that pass to come to you instead of really forcing the issue. So tonight's winner is going to be the one who's the most consistent and truly the best, but not necessarily the fastest. They're the one who's going to race the track better and not the other 42 cars on track.
Yeah, it's going to be really dangerous, especially on these restarts, because when everyone's grouped together, it's a prime opportunity to get those positions. But to your point, when you have so many opportunities to really burn out your tires early on, you're not going to be thinking about that when you're like, oh, it's 3 wide, or like I'm on the inside of 3 wide. I can get 2 positions here if I really gun it to the inside. Sure, you might get those positions, but you also might be doing damage to those tires that you're not going to be able to recoup lap after lap deeper into the run. So certainly going to be an interesting situation to see how it plays out on how aggressive drivers are early versus who's going to suffer in the long run if there's an extended green flag run.
An extended green flag run indeed is what we saw last week, but we also saw the winner take the checkered flag off of a gamble. Last week's winner, Drew Jawa, Chattahoochee Tech, as well as our entire top 5 took the podium based off of a gamble. They stayed out when everybody else came into pit, and they got the late race caution that they needed. They put all their cards out on the table at Vegas and walked away with the points. So tonight, will it happen again? Maybe. I think it'd be really interesting, but I'm also hoping we get a really nice run of green flag racing start to finish, where we can see that strategy play out.
Yeah, it would certainly be fun. When we came to Kentucky during the Gen 4 season back over the summer, it was Ohio State's Matthew Morton who took the victory. And that was a race of a lot of green flag racing. In fact, only 11 cars ended on the lead lap. So certainly the potential for extended green flag runs here at Kentucky tonight. We'll have to see if it actually comes to fruition in just a few minutes.
I believe qualifying has wrapped up. Our field is set of our 43 drivers for tonight's Bluegrass 200. The drivers are warming up right now. They've gone from practicing their quali lap to getting last little bit of race pace practice in before tonight's session. So we're going to get that starting grid to you as soon as we can. I've already been through my strategy keys to the race. The tires are going to be everything, as well as patience. And this pit road is also pretty hard to get on and off of. There's not a lot of room on the apron in turns 3 and 4, in the turns, really, to get onto pit road, get down to 45 miles an hour, hit your pit stall, get your marks, get your service done, and then get off of pit road as quick as you can. So if we do see some green flag pit stops tonight, that's going to be a make or break, I think, for a lot of teams as well.
Yeah, it really could, especially when we've seen drivers who are in the lead in the top 5 late in races get a little too excited coming down pit road. They'll overshoot their box. They'll put the wrong black box settings on what changes they want done to the car. And it's so quickly how you can completely kill your chance at a win just from a split mental mistake going down pit road. So definitely another opportunity to gain or lose positions, especially when it gets deeper into the race and we start getting into those really critical moments where every split second will count. But yeah, it's gonna be a hectic one coming down pit road tonight.
Before we get into tonight's race action, let's take a look at a qualifying lap. We're going to ride on board with one of our drivers to get a first person look at this track. Matthew Morton from Ohio State University, who we mentioned the winner from this summer. So we're going to cut to his car real quick and watch his qualifying laps. Alex, take it away. What's a couple laps around Kentucky Speedway look like?
Yeah, so obviously here you see Matthew Morton low on the apron, obviously trying to make the front stretch as short as possible, getting up toward the outside, going into turn 1, and then diving down for that yellow line. But you've got to be careful on how hard you push that inside line on cold tires during qualifying laps. It's real easy to lose the back end on those cold tires if you force the car to not do what you want. So not only do you need some balance, you also need to get as much heat into those tires as you can on that opening lap out. And now as you see, he goes through the apron on the front stretch there, really minimizing the amount of track that needs to be taken. And now you see him, this is actually the end of his stint here as he was bringing it down to the end of turn 1. So, yeah, definitely shortening the front stretch as much as possible there. We saw a lot of drivers in qualifying go through the apron trying to get every fraction of a second they could for the grid here.
Yeah, no double yellow line out of bounds rules here, these intermediate tracks. So you'll see a lot of drivers sticking up close to the wall as they come down the front stretch, but also cutting through the apron all the way down to the infield to try and make that front stretch as short as possible to get up to the front. So restarts are going to be critical. Starts and restarts are going to be pretty critical here, as you're probably going to see the field fan out 3-4 wide, as I believe the warm-up has ended and we are getting ready to set to the grid of tonight's Bluegrass 200 from Kentucky Speedway. Let's look at tonight's starting grid. Logan Clampett, the pole sitter in eNASCAR ringer, coming back to the CIL. To his outside, Matthew Morton from Ohio State University. Starting on row 2, Tim Robb from American University will start to the inside of Clint Halterman from UNC Charlotte. Row 3 comprising of Athena LeClaire from St. Clair College, a good qualifying for the St. Clair Saints iRacing Academy. To her outside is going to be rolling off Drew Jawa from Chattahoochee Tech, last week's winner at Vegas. Row 4, Duncan O'Connor from Nova Scotia Community College, another good qualifying for them. Matthew O'Brien from Michigan Tech to his outside. A couple ringers on this, ringer rookies on this row. And row 5, Brandon Schulenberger to the inside of Matthew Nordberg from NC State. Had that huge tumble last week at Vegas. He's back out on track to try and get that win that he's been chasing for a while now.
In row 6, it'll be Purdue's Andrew McCall alongside Drew Williams from Clemson University, the summer champ from a few months ago. Row 7 is going to be Garrett Vighton, who we talked to in the pre-race show from Arizona State, alongside UNC Charlotte's Jacob Wiest. Row 8, Nick Stockner from Clemson University, who I believe it's his birthday today. Happy birthday to him. Alongside
hey, happy birthday, Nick.
Frey of the University of North Texas. Row 9, the alumni leader Colin Kolpa from Indiana University, alongside Wingate's Jake Cummings. And in row 10, it's Michael Sidor from the Penn College of Technology, alongside Zach DeWale of St. Clair College.
Starting 21st tonight on row 11, Edward Sanchez from Barrett College to his outside, Jason Wallet, Drexel University. Looking at row 12 now, Jonathan Deerkop from UCF to the inside of Thomas Toomey from UVA. A poor qualifying is to be expected from that Virginia machine. Look to see him making up a few spots tonight. Andrew Stagey from Ball State University and Tim Moore from Manhattanville College. Our Daytona 250 champ on the outside of row 13. Now row 14. The 24, I believe that is... Let me check my notes here. That would be Logan Smith from Auburn University to the inside of Andrew Burrell, a pair of Tigers, making up row 14 from Auburn and Clemson. Row 15, Sky Schreck, Oklahoma, Major Monsivas from Texas A&M International. Row 16. R. Muhammad Ali from Ball State, Austin DeLong from the Penn College of Technology. Row 17. Alex Hallinar from Binghamton University and Zarin Bartholomew from St. Clair College. Row 18, Spencer Brown from UNC Charlotte and Robbie Vrabel Jr. returning to the College Cup Series tonight in the St. Clair College Alumni 075 car. Row 19, car number 8, Ethan Head for the University of Tennessee Knoxville. Starts to the inside of Tyler Klingesmith from Robert Morris University. And rounding out the rest of the pack, Dylan Godinez from the Penn College of Technology, Jonathan Egge from Robert Morris University, Matthew Burton from East Tennessee State, Tristan LeClaire from St. Clair College, and 43rd goes to Timothy Wilms from Drexel University. And the first car out, Zach Tallman from Penn College of Technology. That will be our starting grid for tonight's Bluegrass 200. We came off of the gamble and the wins, the heartbreak of defeat last week from Las Vegas Motor Speedway, but all of that is behind us. This is going to be round 5 of 9 of this season's College Cup Series regular championship. Halfway through the regular season, approaching a spot in the playoffs on the line. It's going to be Matthew Morton and Tim Robb leading the field to the green. Clint Halterman, UNC Charlotte, Athena LeClaire, St. Clair College behind them as the pace car makes its way down pit road. Leaders are going to approach the Geico restart zone. Barney's got the green flag in the air, and we are racing here in Kentucky.
And there they go, 2 by 2 through the first couple of turns. Tim Robb trying to hold it down on the inside. The winner from the summer, Matthew Morton, to his outside, right there up against that outside retaining wall. And as they dive back into 3, not settled yet. Looks like Tim Robb might have the advantage. There's contact behind. Athena LeClaire and Matthew Morton have made contact through 3 and 4. Both of those cars still moving forward, though. But that has checked up the rest of the line, something fierce. And all of a sudden, out in their own little bit of land is Tim Robb from American University, the leader of lap 1, and already 4 car lengths ahead of Matthew Morton.
Yeah, Athena LeClaire, I think, is fighting some cold tires right now on a hot track, and that's going to mean a really, really tight race car. As she was fighting that thing in turns 3 and 4, slid up the track, made contact with Robb. She has since been relegated back to the 4th position. Morton. Making contact with her. Morton keeping that 2nd position. No change inside the top 5 at the moment. And just as I say that, Drew Jawa is able to overtake that 61 car for the 4th position. As I think we're going to see a lot of 2 and 3 wide still down the front stretch. This middle of the pack from about 10th on back has yet to get sorted out, as we're going to go to work on lap 3 here of 133 tonight. 200 miles from start to finish. A lot of racing tonight for the next driver to lock themselves into the College Cup Series playoffs, as we have a wreck in turn 3 and 4. I think I see Thomas Toomey back sideways. Or excuse me, that's
No, I do
yeah,
believe
that's the entrance of 3 and 4.
Thomas Toomey, yeah. It does look like the 166 plummeted down the timing table there as the caution came out. So reasonable assumption may be that the University of Virginia driver not having a great start to this race so far.
Yeah, and he's going to bring it down pit road and try to get some of that damage repaired. You can see the smoke on the track from where the 166 went to the inside. I think he might have hit the wall. But let's see. We're going to see if he had some help, as we're going to try and get a replay here quickly for y'all in just a second. But Toomey has come down pit road to get the damage fixed on that car. And is at risk of very early going a few laps down tonight's race. Actually, no, he's going to go ahead and come out pit road to avoid going a lap down.
Yeah, and one of the things that, as we were starting to get settled in through the first couple of laps there, is that Athena Leclerc really fell back after that initial contact with Matthew Morton there. Was up as high as battling for second, now back to fifth after Halterman and Joie both got by. And that was the potential there was to lose even more positions had the caution not come out. I mean, there was a freight train on the outside there. So a bit of a fortunate break for the St. Clair driver to not lose more positions than just the couple after the contact with the Ohio State driver, but certainly not the ideal start for Athena Leclerc and the St. Clair Saints.
See a couple drivers coming down pit road, maybe to top off on fuel and grab some right side tires. Not sure that I like this call. Only 5 laps into the event. I don't think there's going to be much of a difference on that call, but we can always see what happens as we're going to take a look at the replay of the incident that brought out our first caution on lap 3 of 133. Let's see if we can take a look at what happened. Oh, well, that'll do it. 4 wide into turn 1. That's the 15 of Michael Sidor getting sideways. The bottom line checks up the 888 of Andrew Burrell, making contact with the Auburn 24, and it's just chaos behind them. So many cars involved. There's the
one car who got away from being involved, though, was the 04 of Logan Clampett. That happened right in front of him, and Clampett was able to dive down toward the apron at the last moment. So one of the few cars to escape that. But it looked like just about everybody from, dare I say, 30th on back had a pretty good chance of being involved in that one.
Yeah,
although
Logan Clampett and
like 20th.
Logan Clampett and Thomas Toomey got sent to the end of to the tail end of the longest line at the start of the race for paint scheme violations. They don't have the proper decals displayed on the car, so they had to start the race from the back of the grid. Toomey, that bit him more than Clampett did. Clampett able to make it through that incident relatively unscathed. I saw the 07 Bobby Vrabel Jr. involved. That 888 of Andrew Burrell from Clemson University also in that crash, as well as a few other cars. A lot of alumni in that one, actually, now that I think about it.
Yeah, certainly. As you were running through the names, I was trying to separate them in the Venn diagram and starting getting really weighted toward the red banner side. But it is the students up front right now. They've got control. Each of the first 2 rows, all student drivers here, and I think that might be the case going even further. I can't see who's 6th from this angle. Oh, so that is the first alumni.
Matt O'Brien. Yep.
But the first 5 cars all in the student division here. So right now, the more academic, more academic focused are the ones up at the front of the field as it stands.
Academic weapons up at the front, indeed, as you see the pace car makes the left onto pit road, approaching the Geico restart zone. Once again, Barney with the green flag in hand. Tim Robb, your control. Matt Morton to his outside. They're going to hit the gas, and we are back to racing at Kentucky.
Matthew Morton really driving it in deep here in turns 1 and 2. Only about a foot separating those 2 cars as they went through the middle of the corner. Now fanning out about a lanes wide as they go into 3 and 4. Tim Robb really able to drive it deep into the corner there, able to take away the lead. Here comes Drew Joie on the outside now, but Tim Robb lost a lot of momentum coming out of the corner. About to be 3 wide across the stripe here. Matthew Morton has the edge just for a moment, flying up to take away the lane from Tim Robb. Couldn't do it for Joie, though. Right now, Matthew Morton now to the point here at Kentucky, but he's got a whole host of drivers on his tail.
One of the early favorites to win tonight's race, even during the pre-race show. We talked about his success here over the summer as Tim Robb right now driving the wheels off of that car. He sent it into turn 3 to try and make a slide job on Matthew Morton. Actually had full possession of the lead, but lost it coming off the corner as Matthew Morton retains the lead here on lap 9 of 133. Right now, Morton, Robb, J.W. Halterman, Drew Williams from Clemson has now worked his way inside the top 5. Matt O'Brien from Michigan Tech, Duncan O'Connor, Athena Leclerc falling off a couple spots. From the beginning, as the battle for the lead reignites, it's Tim Robb to the inside of Matthew Morton. Morton goes defensive to the outside and is going to use that momentum from the high line. But Tim Robb is going to get that draft as they go to the inside and start lap 10. I do want to call out the 018 of Andrew McCall from Purdue University. I think this is the first time we've seen him inside the top 10 all season. So already a good start to tonight's race for those Purdue Boilermakers.
Yeah, Andrew McCall having a really good start to tonight's race. But one thing I want to mention here with Tim Robb, I love the aggression early here, really trying to force the issue and hold the serve at the lead. One thing that concerns me about that strategy is he's been really aggressive on the tires so far in these opening few laps, more so, dare I say, than any other driver in the top 10. And if this goes for an extended green flag run, I think that's the first car we're going to see start falling back through the field because he has really been torching those right sides trying to get under and around Matthew Morton.
I think we're probably going to see about 10, 15, maybe 20 laps at the most before that tire differential really starts coming in. But you're right, he's got to be cautious about those right side tires, and especially more so if you're Drew Williams right now looking underneath Drew Jawa for that third position. He's momentarily going to take that away as that battle is going to go side by side down the backstretch. But the tires are going to be crucial tonight, and you've got to be gentle on them, especially in these opening runs when there's not a ton of rubber out on the racetrack. Right now, especially through turns 3 and 4, it's really a one-lane track, maybe a lane and a half if you're forced to the outside. But as the rubber as the rubber builds up on the track, as we got a gaggle of cars here battling for P10, when that rubber builds up on the track, it's going to get a lot tighter. It's going to be a lot nicer on the tires.
This is a scary place to be right now, just on the outside of the top 10. Just back outside the actually it's the back end of the top 10, then a little bit behind. This is about 6th, 7th, 8th on back. And you could see they were going 2-3 wide through the corners. They're still 3 wide going to the front stretch there. That's Matthew Nordberg way out on the outside of the 3 wide battle. Now Schulenberger to the outside here. He's looking to find his way up into 8th. He's trying to chase down Matt O'Brien on the outside now as they go down the backstretch. But this is just such a dangerous position here on the outside of the top 10. Everyone has a lot of speed, but no free space to do anything about it. And you can just see how bottled up things are getting through the corners.
Yeah, McCall, Schulenberger, Edwin Onofre now working his way up into the top 10, running 9th. Matt O'Brien now relegated to that final top 10 position for Michigan Tech. And it's everybody behind them until about, I'd say 20th, vying to get inside the top 10 this race. We've seen so many drivers work their way in ever so momentarily. Athena Leclerc has fallen out. Edwin Onofre, like I said, has worked his way in. Matt O'Brien at risk now of falling out to the hands of Athena Leclerc. Nick Stockner, I believe, the birthday boy, had a couple seconds there in the top 10. And that second Wingate car, I believe, that is Jake Cummings for Wingate. So looking to try and put a second Bulldogs car inside the top 10 here on lap 16.
Yeah, now, we see him coming off the corner here, and it's someone got a little into the wall there coming off of turn 2. That's going to really hold up that outside lane. That's the dangers when you run into a pack that thick. It just takes one car to not quite hit their line right, and all of a sudden it could be trouble for a whole host of cars, as now you see the battling happening all throughout the field. I mean, we have multiple screens on right now to show you the action at 2 different points on track because there's just so much to follow.
Yeah, that battle for the lead still hasn't toned down very much. Matthew Moore still in front, being chased down by Tim Robb. Drew Williams right now locked in the battle for third with Drew Jawa. And then it's a second and change back to Clint Halterman and UNC Charlotte, where he is the front runner, the engine at the front of this train all the way back to about 20th, nose to tail. But it looks like this battle inside the top 10 has shaken itself out just a little bit, but there's still some action further on inside the top 20 for those top 15 positions. As I think now the drivers have settled in. Oh no, we have a caution. Just as I was about to say, the drivers have settled in tonight to try and get their pace done for a green flag stint, but we got a caution that comes out. Not sure where it came from, but I believe this is going to open up pit road for our first round of pit stops.
Yeah, this would be a prime time for a lot of the drivers to come down pit road for the first time. There's only a couple of takers on that lap 4 caution, and rightfully so. But now getting lap 18, lap 19-ish, those tires definitely are worn down enough to justify coming down, topping off fuel and getting 4 fresh tires on there. So a good start to this race right now for Matthew Morton. It also works out really nicely for Tim Robb. He's not going to have to pay the consequences of that really aggressive driving style that was going on in the first few laps. He'll also have a chance to come down and get fresh tires as well. So definitely some benefactors there to the more aggressive through the opening 20 laps, but that may not always be the strategy for success here if there were to be a longer green flag run. But we'll take a gander down pit road here as we see just about everyone making their way on down, and that comes as a surprise to absolutely nobody.
Green flag first pit stop of the race underway. These drivers are going to come in nose to tail and get in their pit boxes as quickly and out of them as quickly as possible. You can see Matthew Morton at the front of this field. Great shot from our production crew. As you can see just how busy pit road is. Almost everybody coming in, save a few lap cars. Tim Robb and Matthew Morton pitting right behind each other, right in front of behind each other. We're going to see who gets off of pit road the cleanest. It looks like the right side on Robb's car went down first. As we see a couple drivers coming out now, that's Drew Williams in the Clemson car, as Matt Morton is going to barely out-nudge them. The rest of the field for that first position, it's going to be Morton, Robb, I believe Williams came away with a third position, Drew Jawa in fourth, and I'm not quite sure who grabbed fifth. It looked like there were a couple cars side by side coming out of pit road there.
Yeah, I caught the eye for the top 4. After that, it was anybody's guess. If things held the way they went into pit road, it would be Clint Halterman, although I cannot confirm that he was the 5th car who came off. But we'll take a look here at the replay that brought out the caution on lap 18. Let's take a look and see what happened there.
This is going to involve the 057 of Hallinar and the 33 of Matthew Burton. So you can see those two running on the bottom lane, and it looks like Hallinar hard, into the outside wall. 2 cars battling for position there.
Took Colin Culpa with him.
Quite, yeah. Is that Culpa?
Yeah.
Yes, it is. Oh, and he hits again. He hits the East Tennessee State car again as they both tried to get going. Culpa really hoping for a good result tonight. And that is a devastating blow to his chances to maintain that lead in the Alumni Championship.
Yeah, and that's not even anything of his own fault. That was Hallinar and Burton fighting for position off the corner. They made contact when they went for the same piece of real estate, and they would just wash up the track to the 100 car, who had absolutely nowhere to go.
And that is 100% correct. What race control deemed racing incident, neither car at fault. As for the caution on lap 2, car 188, Spencer Brown was deemed to be at fault for that incident. But looky here, we got some strategy calls already. The birthday boy, Nick Stockner, staying out. Where have we seen this before? Richmond from a couple seasons ago. Stockner is going to stay out and assume the lead. Guy Schreck for Oklahoma right behind him. And then 3 Penn College Technology cars. Austin DeLong, Michael Sidor, Dylan Godinez going to be right there nose to tail on the restart. And then Spencer Brown also staying out. Matthew Morton, the first car to come down pit road, restarts 7th. The free pass that time around did go to Auburn University and Logan Smith, so he was able to get himself back on the lead lap after being involved in that incident on lap 1, as the drivers, I believe, are going to get the 1 to go signal this time by.
Yeah, and this is going to be interesting because Kentucky's not a track that is particularly nice to your tires. So I do believe guys like Morton, Robb, Williams, and Jawa, they'll all be a lot faster than the 6 cars in front of them. But, track position's going to mean something probably, and it's an opportunity for a few cars who don't normally see at the front of the field to take a gamble, see what happens, and get a little bit off cycle from the rest of the pack here. And getting off cycle worked pretty well for Drew Jawa a week ago, so maybe these 6 drivers are thinking it could happen to them, but certainly an interesting situation for especially the guys in 5th and 6th, Godinez and Brown. You've been kind of toward the back of the field so far through the opening 22 laps. Now you're going to be thrust in with the cars who were leading the opening stint of this race. I have a feeling it's going to be a very different atmosphere racing against those who are running in the top 5 versus those toward the back of the field where they had been before the pit stop.
Strategy calls already. Lap 22 going to restart on lap 23 of tonight's race. Nick Stockner, Sky Shrek on the front row, and behind them, pretty intimidating, 2 light blue Penn College of Technology cars. Make that 3 on row number 3. Dylan Godinez to the inside of Spencer Brown as the pace car is going to make its way down pit road once again. Coming off of caution, number 2, Nick Stockner, the birthday boy, is going to approach the Geico restart zone. He hits the gas, Barney throws the green, and we are back to racing at Kentucky.
And already the PCT car is under fire from Matthew Morton. Morton forcing the issue to the bottom, 3 wide in turn 1. Drew Williams trying to follow him through, not letting the previous leader get too far away from him. Now he pulls in behind. That was Austin DeLong, now looking to the inside of the 22. Sky Shrek washing up the track alongside Drew Williams. Nick Stockner's got a lot of open track in front of him, but now he's got no more cars separating him from Matthew Morton and Drew Williams. So the 124 out in front by over half a second after 1 lap, but that gap's about to come down in a hurry now that the cars who did come down pit lane at that last caution have open track in front of them.
It's an 18-lap differential between the cars that stayed out and the cars that came in during our most recent caution. But look at the pace differential as Matt Morton, Drew Williams, Clint Halterman, and Tim Robb able to put some work on the cars that stayed out as it's a hornet's nest from about 10th on back, 3 wide across the line.
Oh, look at that.
Nick Stockner still out as they're going to stay 3 wide into turn 1. But Nick Stockner out in front, the one advantage and privilege that he has is the clean air. Matthew Morton does not have the clean air, but it doesn't seem to be affecting him at all as he's cut that lead down from a half a second down to 2/10 in about a lap and a half. But you can see as we go side by side here, the battle for the lead. Leclerc spins. Leclerc goes around and the caution comes out. Did she have some help battling for, what was that, about the 10th position?
It was a bit deeper than that. The 61 was a bit slow off turn 4 the previous lap and got really sucked into a hornet's nest of 3 wide action across the board. But that was about a lap ago. Not sure if Athena Leclerc had helped that time around. But definitely lost control of the car coming off of 4 and looked to be maybe the only car who was the real loser of that exchange. I didn't see any other cars go around in the process. So if someone did help the 61 car around, that didn't affect them very much.
Yeah, no contact from any walls there for that St. Clair car. So I think she's going to walk away with a relatively unscathed car, but might have some flat spots and extra wear on those tires. But we're going to try and take a look and see what happened. But yeah, you mentioned she was off the pace a little bit coming out of turn 4 lap prior, really fighting these new tires, these colder tires in these track conditions right now.
Yeah, and that was something that we saw a little bit on the start of the race too. The cold tires really giving drivers trouble. But now we've got an opportunity to take a look at the replay. Let's see what happened to the 61 car from a couple laps ago.
We're going to wait for race control to give a ruling on that incident, but you can see to the inside of Zach DeWale, her teammate right now, students and alumni alike from St. Clair College, as she washes up just a little bit and the two make contact. Not what you want to see if you're Dan Banner right now, the director of that Saints iRacing Academy. But she was able to, it was actually a pretty impressive save down there in the grass as that car got pointed straight back forward, and she was able to keep that thing rolling.
The only, there wasn't a ton of damage to the car, which is a really good sign there for the 61. The only downsides that'll come out of that is obviously a loss of track position from the spin, and also maybe a bit of a hurt feeling between teammates there. That was 2 St. Clair cars with a little bit of contact off the corner. Wasn't egregious, but certainly was contact.
But especially on these cold new tires that you can see, it was just enough to send her around. So I think some drivers are maybe going to take some note of how minor that contact was. and the repercussions that came from it. But there's a man right there who just took a huge sigh of relief in his cockpit. Nick Stockner, under fire right now. We're going to see how, from the drivers on newer tires, see how long it takes for him. If he can hold off these cars on fresher tires behind him, he's going to have Matthew Morton from Ohio State to his outside, teammate Drew Williams behind him. So I'm thinking there might be some team orders going on that Clemson right now about when Stockner's going to go in that restart zone to try and get the best start he possibly can to keep Morton behind.
Yeah, I can't imagine Stockner on the older tires is going to be able to hold off Morton for too long. I think the biggest thing he'll be able to do is put himself in a position to make it tough for him to lose positions. So really make everyone who's trying to get around him make their life difficult in order to take that position away from Nick Stockner, but also maybe trying to set up his teammate Drew Williams behind to still be in the hunt with Matthew Morton here whenever the 124 does inevitably lose the lead, because I'm not a gambling man, but I do not have a ton of faith that 18-lap older tires will be able to defend very well against cars who only have a couple laps on those tires.
Yeah, the leader's privilege here at Kentucky is that clean air that you get from being out front. This is going to be the battle for clean air as the drivers are going to get the one-to-go signal this time by. Matthew Morton, if he can get that clean air and he can clear Stockner, he's going to shoot out to the lead. So if you're these two Clemson drivers, we're going to want to work together to prevent that from happening. But you've also got some other drivers in the mix. I think that's Austin DeLong up on the high side for Penn College of Technology. He's on older tires. Clint Halterman is going to be on row 3 behind them. He's on fresh tires. So this is going to be an interesting mix of strategy and tires as we get to this restart. I'm really interested to see how long Stockner's going to be able to hold off these hard-charging drivers on newer tires. This is an interesting call. I think I'm curious to see where this goes, especially that he's got his teammate behind him.
Yeah, I think the big thing, it might not be the strategy for now, but it might just be trying to get into a different situation for later. But as we're looking through the top 10 here, a couple of new faces in the top 10 after that last little stint. I'm seeing the 26 of Edward Sanchez from Baruch College really had a strong end to the summer season, and then I think had a really good run at Daytona back a few weeks ago. But we haven't seen too much of the 26 in the past few weeks, so cool to see him back into the top 10 as well. Same deal with Edwin Onofre from North Texas, another driver who's pretty solid, now has an opportunity to battle inside the top 10 and probably get a few more positions too, as he's one of the drivers who did come down pit road.
Pace car is off Stockner. Once again, the control car, he's got a very aggressive, very Ohio State car to his outside, and Matthew Morton, the teammate Drew Williams behind. They're going to hit the restart zone, and we are back to racing at Kentucky.
Right now, Matthew Morton still hanging on to the rear corner of the 124s. They make their way out of 2. Stockner was able to slide up and take the position away just for a moment. Now diving back in here, he's got control of the lead, but here comes Morton on those fresh tires to the inside, able to do the crossover. Ohio State to the lead. Going on lap 31, Stockner will slide back into second with Drew Williams and Clint Halterman behind as they go in the 1.
Matthew Morton made very relatively easy work of taking the lead, as now Drew Williams, Clint Halterman on those newer tires. As we got a couple cars in the wall, that came out of nowhere.
Matthew Burton, for ETSU was looking down at the front stretch from turn 1. Caution, I believe, is out
this
now.
Is number 3. The caution has come out. Caution number 4, on lap 31 of 133. Matthew Morton did exactly what he needed to do. He got the lead within a lap of the start. For Ohio State University, he is in the best possible spot. Nick Stockner going to start to his outside after losing the lead on a strategy call. Drew Williams right behind him. Clint Halterman, Tim Robb rounding out your top 5 at the moment. Williams, Halterman, Robb, Jawa, and I believe Clampett as well are on newer tires. And I think this is the first time Logan Clampett has been inside the top 10 today for Cal State Fullerton.
Yeah, he's had some work to do after the early end of line, but he's made short work of the field here through these restarts, and now finds himself in the top 10. And every ensuing restart's going to really benefit him, is just keeping the leaders within striking distance every so often. So definitely a really good spot to be right now for Cal State Fullerton. There's no doubt about that. And also, it's going to be a really good opportunity for Matthew Morton now, where he is in clean air on this next restart, and the car to his outside, and Nick Stockner is on older tires. So he's going to really have an opportunity to try and break away from Drew Williams and Clint Halterman behind him as they go in the one.
Something that's especially important is you've broken up those teammates as well. Stockner's going to be on the outside, Williams to the inside. Though it didn't look like Williams gave Stockner much of a push coming to the restart zone last time. But they're still a threat together when you've got two teammates working together and everybody around you is pretty much a loner. But we're going to take a look at the replay that brought out that incident going into turn 1 a couple laps ago. And yep, just two cars going for
I believe
a space that didn't
Eddie
exist.
And Matthew Burton. Matthew Burton was pulling the tow mater, launching himself backwards into the corner. But yeah, it was tough to tell from the onboard there, but it did look like there was two cars looking for the same bit of square footage going into turn 1. So a tough series of events right now, especially for Matthew Burton, who's now found himself facing the wrong way a couple times tonight.
Want to highlight some of our big movers from the race. Nick Stockner started 15th, currently running 2nd. Drew Williams started 12th up to 3rd. I think our biggest mover right now is going to go to Dylan Godinez, who started P39 on the grid. He's currently running inside the top 10 in that 8th position. Edwin Onofre started 16th up to 9th. Logan Clampett gridded on the pole but had the EOL to start the race. He is up to 7th position at the moment. Also want to shout out Edward Sanchez from Barrett College. He started 21st and is up to the 11th position, plus 10 for that driver right now. So a lot of big movers inside 10, top 15 right now.
Yeah, and especially in a situation like Dylan Godinez, he's plus 31 because of that pit strategy. And every subsequent caution is making that pit strategy look better and better as he's been able to retain that sort of track position deeper into the race here without having to burn through that next set of tires. At some point, both fuel and tires are going to catch up with the 808, and he will have to come down pit road. But now with these cautions, everyone who stayed out on the lap 18 pit cycle has really gotten themselves on a fully different pit strategy. It wasn't like you came in like 4 or 5 laps later than the drivers who came in at lap 18. I mean, they're now a good 15, 20 laps past that point. So now you're really going to see the difference in strategy unfold here as this race progresses, because they're now wildly separate.
Working on lap 34, a quarter of the way through tonight's 200-mile race here at Kentucky Speedway, as I believe the drivers are want to go signal that time. Yep, I think I saw the lights on the pace car go off. So we're going to get the field re-racked after caution number 5 tonight. We had a really solid 18-lap green flag run. It's been a caution fest ever since, and it's been a tale of 2 different pit strategies at the moment. Although the latter pit strategy of staying out at caution number 3 is certainly biting some drivers on their rear bumper. I think we saw the 22 of Austin DeLong come down pit road during that cycle. He bailed on the strategy, so he came down to get some new tires. But everybody else that stayed out, I believe, is continuing to stay out. Nick Stockner currently the standard bearer of that group on that strategy, but he's going to be surrounded by plenty of cars on 18-lap newer tires. Didn't seem to work out for him at the moment, but as Alex said, every caution that goes by is going to play into those drivers' favor as they're going to make their way slowly around turns 3 and 4 coming to the restart. We're going to see, hopefully, a long green these strategies pan out. Matthew Morton in the lead is the control car. In control when they hit the Geico restart zone. Nick Stockner to his outside. Drew Williams, his teammate from Clemson, in that second row to the inside of Clint Halterman from UNC Charlotte. His teammate Jared Kaler, the reigning champion, running a part-time schedule this season, so he will relinquish the title at this moment. So we're going to see who can make their way into the playoffs. Still 100 laps of racing to go. As Matthew Morton hits the restart zone, we go back to racing at Kentucky, and Nick Stockner could not get that car going.
Yeah, the tires definitely spun on the 124. The entire outside lane got really bottled up. It let Drew Williams get a free pass in the second. And now Tim Robb's up there battling for third from Nick Stockner. Stockner finally got the car going through the corner and is closed back in onto the back bumper of Drew Williams there. But definitely not ideal for that outside lane as they were looking to get going, and then the lane just never cleared. But Matthew Morton in firm control of this race right now after the restart. He's got about a 2-car length gap over Drew Williams, and then it's about another gap and a half back to Nick Stockner, and then it's just too wide on back to there.
Look at this battle for the 5th position. Clint Halterman, Logan Clampett exchanging times on the towers right now. Clampett in that 04 car for Cal State Fullerton has worked his way inside the top 5 for the first time in this event. Definitely one of the favorites to win tonight. Had a very successful eNASCAR career, has won some really strong races in the eNASCAR College Series as well, and he's now taken a whack at CIL. Came to Auto Club for his first race in our Never Forget 200, dominated that one, won it off of strategy and pace there at the end, as we have another caution come out, but he has worked his way inside the top 5 and actually just lost out on it to Halterman as the caution came.
And that will be our 5th caution of the evening here as things are starting to get slowed back down here. Admittedly, not entirely sure where the caution came out from. We're going to have to look and see where that came from. It wasn't in the front group here. Oh, the replay is right. So let's take a look here and see what brought out the caution on lap 39.
This is all the way at the back of the pack. Didn't happen there at the bottom of the screen. Spencer Brown, and I think that's a Ball State car that went into the wall. Yeah. They tangled up and, oh goodness. Who's that coming across the track? A lot of chaos there.
Tough to tell from this angle. The camera is a little little uncooperative, though. It does look like a red and white car, so maybe Ball State or maybe Indiana.
If that's Colin Culpa, not a good day for him. I think this might wind up being his drop week, one of his drop weeks for the championship. One of the unique things about the CIL, because of the name being students and also working full-time jobs for our alumni, we give every driver 2 drop weeks for their individual and school championships. So if you have a test, an exam, or you just don't feel well, or you had a really bad day at work and you just don't feel like racing, you can skip the race and use a drop week. Or if you have a really bad night, then that race will get expunged from your record. Your 2 lowest scores will be dropped at the end of the season before we declare a champion. So a couple drivers out there might this as their drop week and trying to salvage what they can.
Yeah, it's also worth noting in the CIL, obviously, there are no fast repairs. So for these drivers who have been caught up in incidents at the early part of this race, if you can't get that damage fixed on pit road, that is just the end of your night. As you can see, there are a couple of cars on pit road at the moment whose days are either done or definitely close to being done as far as being a number of laps down at this point. So the field is going to it's going to be a bit of a war of attrition back there. Once you get caught up in one of these wrecks, you'll get toward the back of the field, and then you become at much higher risk for anything that could subsequently follow.
Race Control investigating that incident. We're going to get back to you as soon as we hear something from them. Going back to the lap 31 incident between cars 02 and 33 that was deemed a netcode incident that would not have happened without iRacing netcode. Yes, the best way to explain netcode for those of you who are unfamiliar with iRacing, this is, of course, a video game with real-time connections and multiplayer. And sometimes the game itself can misjudge where it thinks your car is going or where your car is. So you can be a couple inches away from somebody in a corner or on a straightaway, but iRacing thinks your cars will make contact, and it's going to simulate that as so. So even though you don't see them on the stream or in the game making contact, iRacing may think that the cars hit each other, and it's going to send one of them or both of them spinning as though it thought it would. So the stewards thought that that was a netcode incident, that if there wasn't netcode, it wouldn't have been an incident, so no action taken there.
Speaking
also, the
of
cause of that last caution was attributed to car 100 Colin Culpa, who looped it coming out of turn 4, but was able to keep it straight. That's what brought out the yellow, and then the contact between Brown and the Ball State car was made as a result, was made after the caution came out, so no further action will be taken.
Gotcha. One thing that was wanted to shout out here while we had a second was that one of the netcode incident that you mentioned, one of the cars involved was the 02 of Jonathan Eggy for Robert Morris. Let me tell you, he had a rough day. About an hour ago, an air conditioning event in the RMU esports room actually fell off of its hinges and landed on his head.
What in the world?
So
oh my gosh!
He might not be 100% for tonight's race, but even before that incident. So yeah, he's had himself a day. They're going to get maintenance in there tomorrow to patch that one up. But yeah, he asked me specifically that if his car came up on stream for any reason to let folks know that he got beamed by a metal grate about an hour ago. So.
I feel so bad for laughing, but that's one of those things that I wouldn't believe it if nobody had told me. But Jonathan, we hope you're feeling all right in the head. We're glad that you got checked and released from the infield care center and cleared to race tonight. But man, what a story!
Yeah, it happened during practice before the qualifying session. So he's already had an eventful weekend here at Kentucky.
I'm sorry for laughing, Jonathan, but that's funny. As we're going to approach the restart here, working on lap 42, coming to lap 43 of 133, almost halfway done, or third of the way done with this race. Matthew Morton, Drew Williams in the front row, Tim Robb, Nick Stockner in row number 2, Clint Halterman, Logan Clamp at row 3, as the drivers and Morton are going to approach the Geico restart zone one more time. Barney throws the green, and we are back to racing here at Kansas, and the field scatters behind them.
And that's the thing with these restarts at Kentucky. It can fan out in a hurry the moment you get across the stripe. Everyone looking for that little bit of real estate. So while Matthew Morton's got clear daylight ahead of him, just behind him, there is a whole hornet's nest of cars swarming for every position they can get their hands on, knowing that the restarts are the best time for it. And just behind the leaders here, I mean, you see a battle there between Stockner and Tim Robb. They're 2-3 wide coming off the corner behind him.
Yeah, it's chaos outside about the top 5 as it's for the top 5. These drivers are battling hard as Tim Robb's going to try and make his way underneath Nick Stockner, but Stockner through the block. He was clear going into turn 1 as Matt Morton and Drew Williams have cleared the rest of the field. The battle for the lead is going to concern these two drivers. It looks like Tim Robb and Logan Clampett, for the time being, have made their way around Stockner, who's going to go plummeting through the field here, as I think these newer tires are really coming to fruition on these drivers, and Stockner's all the way down to 2nd to 8th on this lap. But looking back up front, Logan Clampett hungry for the lead. He's got some work to do to get around Drew Williams and Matt Morton now with a 0.3 of a second lead. This is one of the biggest leads we've seen of the night. Drew Williams behind him. Logan Clampett right on his rear bumper. As you look at the bottom right hand of your screen, this is going to be the battle from about, I believe, P15, P20. You can see 3, 4, maybe even a virtual 5 wide there coming down the front straightaway. They're going to try and get that settled out as they come into turn 1. Still 3 wide between a lot of these drivers in tons of spots, as these battles are not going to settle out for a while.
They're definitely not. Edwin Onofre on the bottom of that 3 wide there. He's cleared Godinez. Godinez is one of those cars on older tires, and all those who came and pit more recently trying to find their way around the 808. Now Godinez will slide back in behind Onofre's. Nordberg looks to make a pass on the outside. You see Nick Stockner out there on the outside as well, really struggling to find any sort of traction, holding on to the positions that he had after the pit call. So definitely a lot of cars getting shuffled both forwards and backwards here over the past couple laps. As you see the 124 now under attack from Matthew Nordberg and Onofre on the back bumper of Matt O'Brien.
Still lots of action out on track. You can see the 124 falling through the field. Wide for the 5th position going into turn 1. Contact, as I believe that's DeWale goes around and the field behind him. It's the big one at Kentucky.
I didn't know Kentucky was capable of a big one until right now, where it looks like a third of the field just got caught up in that coming off of turn 2. I see Andrew McCall, Jason Wallet, Zarin Bartholomew, Edwin Onofre was in there, as was Zach DeWale, and that was just a handful of the drivers who looked like they were caught up in that.
And I want to shout out Bartholomew, who got that car slowed down right before he made contact with Drexel 76 of Wallet. That could have been disastrous for both of those cars, but I think there was less than an inch between those two cars. So great wreck avoidance there from the St. Clair driver. To get that thing slowed down and load up. Is Edwin Onofre involved in that wreck, that mean green UNT machine. He's going to try to get his lap back and get that thing down pit road to get some repairs.
It's a bummer, too, because, I mean, that was up toward the front of the field, and those guys, I mean, like Edwin Onofre in particular, he was having a really strong run here through the opening part of this race, and now a lot of that progress is going to be undone in one fell swoop from something he himself was not involved in. I cannot wait for whenever this replay is going to be ready to go, because 4 wide going into turn 1, and because it was the battle for 5th, no one was going to be the one willing to give up the positions there and let that settle down, and because of it, they paid the price.
I want to say it looked like Zach DeWale and maybe a Penn College Tech car made contact, and that sent DeWale around. Everybody behind him started checking up, and a couple of people turned themselves on each other's noses. And just right there coming off of turn 2, a lot of cars sideways parked on track, and it was the big one from there.
Yeah, it certainly was. And a lot of cars. I mean, you see Matt O'Brien there.
Ooh, Matt O'Brien.
One of the previous race winners this season. That is not looking good there for the Michigan Tech car.
Yeah, was a walk-off victory at Bristol. He was able to win that race and lock his way into the playoffs. So I think he's thankful for that auto lock right now that he's got working for him, because that car might be cooked for the rest of tonight's race. Spewing smoke out the back and stuff, yeah.
As you see now, cars starting to slowly catch back up to the field. There's going to be a lot of cars coming down pit road, I'm sure, not only for new tires, but also there was just a lot of cars who were caught up and got damage in that. Looks like the 34 of Duncan O'Connor may have also gotten a piece of that. Potentially Brandon Schulenberger in the 16. I mean, there was a lot of cars to try and keep track of at once there, and they all went sideways. So sounds like the replay is ready to go. Let's take a look and see what caused the big one here at Kentucky.
You see the 4 wide going into turn 1. That was actually Sanchez and Barrett College making contact with DeWale before the 007.
Yeah, Jake Cummings looked like he shifted up just slightly, and that's where calamity ensued behind it. Stockner, Nordberg in there as well, and then there's an even bigger pile up in the back half of the screen there. A couple of cars sliding through the backstretch. Let's see.
Matthew Burton, Michael Sidor involved.
Man, Matthew Burton's had himself a pinball of a night, eh?
Man, I think I saw Jason Wallet went sideways as well for Drexel. So a lot of very good drivers crash. And we're going to get an alternate angle. So
taking a look from an Onofre's point of view, at least. So this happens just in front of him with the contact between DeWale and Jake Cummings. And it basically just bottlenecks the entire track. And it's tough to change directions when you're mid-corner. So contact with O'Brien back to Onofre, Stockner involved. I mean, the front end already torn off for the 199. There goes McCall.
Andrew McCall. Anybody else caught it? Yeah, there comes actually, I think the 15 tried. I think the 15 of Sidor maybe thought he could get through it, but the 33 was in his way, and there's the 7 of Bartholomew. A little Mexican standoff right there between both of those cars parked and trying to get out of each other's way. Bartholomew heavy on the brakes. A great job getting that car slowed down, but yeah, a lot of heavy hitters involved in that crash. Matt Nordberg as well. I think we saw him involved. He just can't seem to keep his nose clear of incidents this season.
A lot of heavy hitters gone and a lot of heavy hits for those drivers. As a couple of those cars got really torn up. I would be shocked if Edwin Onofre is back in this race at any point. I mean, the entire front end of that car was ripped off more than once.
Yeah, from the lead to parked on pit road getting damage repair for Stockner, so not the birthday race he wanted. Onofre also having, as we mentioned, a really, really good race for UNT. You see that car is parked on pit road getting repairs now. iRacing does reserve the right to tell the drivers that they have to pit for repairs. So you'll be shown the black and orange meatball flag come down pit road. There's a certain level of things that you have to get fixed on the car before you go back out on track, and assuming both of those drivers are doing is serving their meatball flags. But as we're going to get back to racing, Drew Williams to the outside of Matthew Morton. I do want to highlight Muhammad Alif from Ball State University made his way through that crash, went low, and avoided all the carnage, and he is in the top 10 for the first time tonight as they're going to approach the Geico restart zone. Pace car is off. Matt Morton in Ohio State control car. Great shot of Barney with the green flag in hand as he's going to throw it, and we are back to racing at Kentucky.
Barney really let him sit on that one for just a moment, didn't he? But two by two, they will file into turn one. Matthew Morton breaks away early. Drew Williams trying to hold on the second as Logan Clampett's all over his back bumper. Now the 04 diving to the inside of Drew Williams here as they go into three. Cal State Fullerton on the inside, Clemson on the outside, Tim Robb and American University on the scene as well. As they come off the corner, it's a bit of a triangle coming, battling for second. Clampett's got the nose to the inside corner as you see roaring past here. A little bit of CIL drone cam action going down the front stretch. That was pretty fun.
I was about to say the drone might want to pull up. He got absolutely smacked by Jake Cummings as he went all the way down to the apron across the start-finish line. But Matthew now out to the lead is now... You see the 26, this is the battle for 7th place. Edward Sanchez and Barrett College to the outside of Jake Cummings and Wingate University as Sanchez is going to walk away with that position for the time being. Logan Clampett down to 5th. Jonathan Deerkop up to 4th. I don't think we've seen him inside the top 5 yet tonight or even inside the top 10, so not really sure where he came from. He must have had an incredible restart to get around Clampett for that 4th position. Muhammad Alif in 9th position at the moment as you see the 700 and that UCF Knights machine to the outside of Logan Clampett. Thomas Toomey started from the rear, got involved in the first incident race. He's now worked his way back up in 10 for UVA as well.
Yeah, I was about to say Thomas Toomey back on the scene. He's worked his way forward. So a couple of cars who have taken some time to get up toward the top 10 have now done so. And Alif, as well as Monsivice, who's in there for the first time, as well as Toomey's battling with the Texas A&M International driver right now. But yeah, Jonathan Deerkop's been on a mission since this restart. He's moved up the 4th. He's now staring down Robb, Williams, and Morton as they look to try and take away the lead. Meanwhile, a little farther back in the field here, you see Nordberg battling with Sidor. You see Shrek battling with Burl. I mean, there's just 2x2 action in basically every corner you look right now. Definitely not early enough for cars to start singling out single file, as there's still a lot of battles going on in the back half of the field.
Jonathan Deerkop drew some ire from some other drivers in the field after his pinball performance last week at Vegas, involved in a lot of incidents, including the one that brought out the caution inside of 15 laps to go that really screwed up the strategy for a lot of drivers. But he's silencing the haters right now, running inside the top 4, looking to make his way up towards the lead. Good run tonight for that UCF Knights machine as he's got Logan Clampett, that ringer, staring down the throat of that car right now, right all over his bumper, and he's got Clint Halterman right behind them as well, nose to tail with Edward Sanchez from Barrett College. There's a driver we haven't really talked about much this season. Had a really good run in the Gen 4 series this summer, but never quite got it going, as I think Rob made some minuscule contact with the wall going into turn 2. But Sanchez having a really good run tonight. Looks like that next-gen car finally coming to life for him. Garrett Vighton now working his way inside the top 10. We talked to him at the top of the show during the Ignition Zone pre-race show, actually. Finished 3rd overall on the podium in the eNASCAR College iRacing Series race at Daytona a couple weeks ago for Arizona State. He's now battling with Muhammad Alif for that 9th position, but right behind them, I think that is the 3 of Drew Jawa battling with Thomas Toomey. They're going to be, this is a battle with four different cars, not only for the top 10 positions, but for this 9th position as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's quite the battle going on for 9th here. Vighton's got it for the moment. Here comes Jawa up to 10th now and battling. It's 2, almost 3 wide just behind them. Muhammad Alif really slow off the corner of 4. He's going to drop down a couple of positions just behind them. As now he almost made contact there with Monsivice. Leclerc goes up to the outside. And now looks like Alif's going to have a little bit of a gap back to Leclerc and Monsivice, but that got really close for a second. As this is the battle for just outside the top 10. This is 12th, 13th, and 14th.
There's some rubber getting laid down on the track now. It's going to really tighten up coming through the center and off the corners. As we're seeing this
really tight 3 wide there.
Pinch right there. Colin Kolpa in the Indiana machine, his outside. That is the 074 of, let me check my notes.
It's Tim Moore of Manhattanville, or Daytona winner, who got pinched into the middle of that. As you see, Athena Leclerc fall back on the backstretch there and really launched it into turn 1. Monsivice, though, will be able to clear the corner on the outside back to the back bumper of Muhammad Alif. Not entirely sure what happened to the 12, but it looks like there's some damage on the front of that car that's really holding them up.
Yeah, I noted that. That front bumper's got some caving in right up there at the radiator, where that is at the front of the car. So I'm wondering if there's not only aero damage, but Alif may have to start watching his water temps here as he's battling, especially in dirty air behind cars. But Monsivice around the outside of Alif, as Alif really slow here through the center of the corners. I think he might be fighting a tight condition in the car as Moore really tried to look to the outside coming off the corner, but that move didn't work, as Alif is going to lead a freight train down the front straightaway here. Now Leclerc getting to his inside, as Monsivice is going to try and set his sights on getting in the top 10 for the first time tonight.
Right behind this, they're watching Muhammad Alif. He's not getting the run off the exit of the corner that he needs compared to the drivers around him, and he's really sliding up the track because it just doesn't have that ability to rotate. Tim Moore finally clears, and as you see Alif drift up to the top there, he'll throw a block on Austin DeLong, and it'll allow Athena Leclerc to get by on the inside. But right now, the 12 car of Muhammad Alif and Ball State, they're really hoping, I'm sure, for a caution sometime soon to try and get some of that pushed back out, because you can really tell the performance of that Chevy Camaro right now is struggling, and cars are taking advantage of him. He had gotten as high as 9th, but he's now fallen back to, I believe, 14th, and he's in jeopardy of losing a whole host of more positions as there's 5 cars hot on his tail.
Our Muhammad Alif, one of our championship 4 from last season, couldn't participate in the championship race because he was in Europe driving in a sim racing championship over there. And in fact, he had spent most of this week over the weekend at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. I think I said that right, where he drove from 20th to 4th. And the name of the championship eludes me. But he finished 8th overall and walked away with 2,500 euros. So I think he just got back to Ball State today. So a busy weekend for that Ball State driver, but not the race I think he wanted tonight, as he's going to look underneath. I believe this
must be Toomey.
That's got to be Toomey with that all blacked out car. Toomey maybe forcing the issue, going to go 3 wide. I think the 22 of DeLong and Penn College thought about it. The 16 that Wingate car on the outside said, I don't want any piece of this. Is going to go. Is Wingate going to make it 4? I don't think so. Saw what happened last time and said, I don't think so. As Toomey and the 22 make contact, and that sends a Leaf way down to the inside. Great save from all of those drivers involved. Wow.
Wow, a huge save, and now everyone flying past Matt O'Brien on the on the inside there. The 043 from Michigan Tech definitely got some damage from that. You can see the damage on the front of that car. But boy, was that a tight moment there for DeLong and a Leaf. Both of them, though, able to not only keep it forward, they barely lost any positions. They lost out to Schulenberger and Toomey, but that was it. And now they are still holding off the rest of the pack here. Godinez is finally trying to get around on the outside. And now you see Wiest and Logan Smith there on the outside of a Leaf with Culpa on the inside. So scary moment for Ball State and Penn College of Technology, but they were able to keep it going. They survive, and the battle will press on here on lap 69.
Great hands from all 3 of those drivers to keep those cars straight and out of the wall and to not cause an incident. As now you see the 24, that Auburn machine of Logan Smith going to work around the outside of a Leaf. He's got Colin Culpa in tow right behind him. That Indiana car going to back off just a little bit as he's now going to fall into the clutches of Matt Nordberg. That's going to be a battle for the alumni, 2 alumni drivers right there, as Toomey's going to, I believe, pull into the inside apron. Want to mention that Jason Wallet from Drexel University also made it around both of those drivers at the moment, at that lap. And I think we're at the point now where we're starting to really see these tires fall off. And lap 71, about lap 75, I think, is when I have my pit window opening, and if the drivers pit here, they can make it to the end of the race. So from 75 to about 85 is going to be the green flag pit window. So expect to see drivers coming in about 4 laps from now.
And I'm sure there's a couple of drivers who cannot wait for that window to open so they can come down and get fresh tires. But up toward the front of the field here, we got a really good battle going on for third. You've got Drew Williams and you got Drew Jawad and Tim Robb Tim Robb was on the scene until just about the exit of turn 2. But now here comes Jawad diving to the inside of turn 3, looking to get around the Clemson driver of Andrew Williams. They'll be side by side coming off the corner, really tight quarters as they make their way off of 4. Williams will hold on to the position for now, but he is definitely not done yet, as now here comes Tim Robb back onto the scene as well. Jawal really launches it onto the inside, and now he will pull away into the 3rd position. And now he's got about a second to go to catch Logan Clampett, who's got a second or so to catch our current leader in Matthew Morton.
Okay, 8/10 between first and second and third, give or take. As I think now, especially up here towards the lead, we're going to see the battle between the drivers who were really good at saving their tires and the drivers who maybe were a little too aggressive during this stage. The drivers who burned their stuff up, you're going to see them struggle to stay up at the front. I think Drew Williams may be among those drivers, as he, with relative ease, conceded that position to Drew Jawa, who works his way up into third. Williams now risking falling into the clutches and losing the position to Tim Robb behind, being relegated to 5th. But I think I see the lead up at the front coming down really quickly. That lead now at about 6/10 was a second just a couple of laps ago. So Clampett, I think he really wants to take the lead before coming down to pit road in about the next 10 or 15 laps or so.
It would definitely be in his interest to do so if he's able to pull it off, but it just seems like he's making massive jumps in times whenever he's entering the corner. Not sure what he's doing differently from Matthew Morton right now, but it seems like every 10 seconds or so, it's an entire tenth that is lost right off the bat. As now we're taking a look here at Morton, you can see the 04 of Clampett. He's only about 3-4 car lengths back, and he is certainly closing. Over the past 2 laps, that gap has gone from about 0.8 to 0.3, and it is continuing to shrink here as Cal State Fullerton is closing in on the lead.
Clampett with the better tempered tires, he's going to use those to his advantage to try and take the lead from Matt Morton in Ohio State as we cross the 2/3 mark of this race. This is going to be a battle that I don't think Matt Morton's going to be able to offer very much to. Clampett, I think when he gets up there, is just going to drive right on by. Matt Morton right now does have the privilege of that clean air out front. Clampett That lead coming down about 1.5 tenths per corner. You can see just that much later on the brakes. Now within a car of Ohio State, Cal State Fullerton. He's probably going to be challenging for the lead when they come around the next time by.
Yeah, I would certainly believe it. He might honestly have a chance here coming off of 2, although more realistically, he might need to set it up off this corner to make the attack going on the 3 and 4. A little farther back in the field here, you see some battling going on there. Duncan O'Connor in the middle of 2 rows of 2. You see Jacob Weiss, Colin Kolpa into that mix as well. I mean, there is just action happening everywhere. As O'Connor now to the inside, trying to make it 3 wide on both Sanchez and Jacob Weiss. O'Connor will clear Weiss, now looking to clear the 26 of Sanchez. Looks like he might be able to get them both in one corner there. A good move from the Nova Scotia Community College driver as he'll pick up 2 positions at once. Really strong drive there. He's up and now into the top 15.
And this is the advantage of playing nice with your tires early in the run. You're going to be a little slower, easier on the throttle coming out the corner, and you're probably going to lose some positions to the drivers who are a little more aggressive. But if you get a big green flag run like this, you are going to reap the benefits as you're going to drive up through the field with relative ease. As a big hit against the wall goes the 24 of Logan Smith in Auburn. He smacked the wall coming out of turn 4, and he might have to worry about some potential damage to that suspension. But Colin Kolpa now from Indiana trying to salvage everything he can from this race. He's going to the inside of that Charlotte car, and he's going to maybe walk away with the position. No, they are side by side down the backstretch. But a great recovery drive right now for Indiana University. Colin Kolpa, after being involved in some incidents early on in the race. I want to draw your attention to the bottom right-hand side of the screen. This is the battle for the lead. Logan Clampett has yet to get around Matt Morton. I think I spoke too soon when I said that he'd be able to just drive around Morton and take the lead, but Morton really using that clean air to his advantage to keep Cal State Fullerton behind that Ohio State car. What this is about, this is going to shape up to be a great battle, but as we turn back to the main action, that's the 42 of Garrett Vighton to the outside of Colin Kolpa is now, I believe, Charlotte thought about making it 3 wide right there, or excuse me, that's Binghamton, that's Hallinar, thought about making it wide, but couldn't quite get that move to stick.
Yeah, that was an aggressive move there from Kolpa. Yeah, as Jacob Weiss bailed out at the last second, but Kolpa continues his surge to the front despite having some damage on that Indiana machine. That car continues to charge toward the front. He's now knocking on the door of the top 10, currently running, I believe, in the 13th position. So 15th position. So he's definitely within striking distance here, especially with the pit cycle. A huge opportunity to potentially present itself. As now going down the backstretch, here comes the 04 of Logan Clampett. He's on the back bumper. He's sticking his nose in through 3 and 4. That is Matt Morton in Ohio State on the outside. Logan Clampett and Cal State Fullerton on the inside. Oh, heavy contact into the wall. Are they going to be able to save it? I mean, there was nowhere to go for either of those drivers. Clampett went flying up the track. I don't know if he got loose or was just trying to run Morton up toward the wall. Morton ran out of room. Contact between both cars and with Morton and the wall. Morton, though, able to survive a little bit cleaner, though, than Clampett. His lead will rebound up over a second, but I'm sure both of those cars have some damage.
Yeah, that was a hard hit from the 04, as it looks like he may have tried the squeeze on Morton to go defensive, but got a little tight coming out of the corner on the tires, aging slow tires, and significant contact between those two drivers. I'll be very surprised if neither of them have suspension damage. But yeah, you could see the gap. What was almost nothing now back up to 0.8 tenths to a second as Clampett's going to try and remount an attack. A very rare, unforced error from that driver as we're going to take a look at what happened. You can see Clampett sticks his nose up to the inside, has the position, and gets a pretty good run off the corner, stays with Morton, but the two make contact, and what a save from Clampett all the way halfway into the grass and keeps that car going straight down the front stretch.
He basically tried driving through the 13. I mean, that line was only going to work if there wasn't a car to his outside. I don't know if he was trying to do the slide job or what, but the 13 was very much there, and there was heavy contact between both of those cars. So if I'm Matthew Morton, I am not thrilled with that passing attempt there from Clampett.
And it may not be so clean next time Clampett tries to relaunch an attack. So keep an eye on that battle. And this might get pretty spicy here. We might have some leftover Bristol beef here at Kentucky.
Yeah, there certainly could be. They're known for the bourbon, but they might have some beef to offer at the end of this one. So as we hit lap 87 here, I'm starting to wonder if people are really going to try and stretch this green flag run, hoping that a caution might come out so they don't have to pit under green. Because to your point about that potential pit window, Zach, I mean, it's that gap of 75 to 85 has passed, and I don't think I've seen a single car come down pit road. So everyone might just be waiting for the second shoe to drop.
Yeah, so that was the window for the undercut. We saw a lot of drivers last week try the undercut at Vegas, but it didn't work, only because there was that caution inside 15 laps to go. If that race went green, those drivers who came in first were going to win the race. Like there wasn't a doubt about it. But I think the overcut strategy is maybe what some of these drivers are doing now. That window is now open, and that's going to close at about 105 to get to the end of the race. So these drivers on very, very, very old tires by Kentucky standards, and I think some of them might be wondering about fuel. Let's see, when was our last caution? What lap did they come out on?
Last caution would have been around the lap 50-ish, I believe.
So there's about 50 laps of gas worth in these cars, 50 to 55. So I think drivers are really going to have to come down pit road soon. But as this battle for the lead reignites, producer Christian, what do you say? I think it's time for a CIL full send. Let's see if we can crank it up here. Working on lap 93, now 94 of 133. Kentucky Speedway Bluegrass 200. Inside 40 laps to go. The pit window to get to the end really open, and the drivers have started to come down pit road. Athena Leclerc, great drone cam shot. If she's going to get 4 fresh Goodyear tires, get back out on track. I believe that's Matt O'Brien right behind her. Williams coming in as well for his service. Logan Clampett has already come down pit road and gotten his stuff. He is currently working the undercut on Jake Cummings, Clinton Halterman, Drew Jawa, and Matt Morton to get back out on track. Drew Williams, 4 fresh tires for him, going to try and get out of his pit stall as quickly as he can. He is off, and the green flag pit stops are officially underway.
Yeah, they have been underway for a couple of laps here. Well, honestly, one of the first cars to come down pit road was Cal State Fullerton's Logan Clampett. He was one of the first cars to pull the trigger on it, so it may not necessarily be a major undercut compared to the rest of the field, but he will be the most of any driver on the field. As you saw Andrew Burl really lock it up there, gutting into the pit road entrance. That was the 888 car in the purple and orange. But yeah, no, a lot of cars every so often, every lap or so, we've seen a few more cars come down pit road, starting to shake up the running order inside the top 10, and you start to wonder where people are going to cycle back out. Matthew Morton, our race leader, has not come down pit road yet. He had the lead before the pit cycle, and every lap that goes by, you start to wonder what the right move is going to be.
I was about to say, every lap that goes by, Matt Morton's going to lose a pretty significant chunk of time to those cars that came down pit road, especially Logan Clampett. They were battling for the lead before Clampett came down pit road. So it'll be interesting to see what these intervals look like, as well as when Morton decides to come down pit road, because he cannot make it to the end on fuel at this point.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But those who are coming down pit road, they will be able to make it to the end on fuel. So there comes the money stop now for Matthew Morton. He tries to get around the 0-2 of Jonathan Egge, it looks like. Here comes Morton down pit road for Ohio State. He's got a long drive at pit road speed. He's the second to last box on pit lane, so it'll be an easy exit, but a painfully long entrance, I'm sure, under green flag pit stops as you see all the other cars roaring down the front stretch into turn one.
Yeah, Logan Clampett's got about a second on the leaders at this point. Morton's last full green flag lap was a 32.23. Clampett's last lap was a 31.25. So almost a full second to the good for these drivers who have already come down pit road. So I think Morton might lose the lead. Yes, he will. Clampett has just gone into turn one. But this race is not over yet. There's still over 30 laps left of racing, and the perk of coming down pit road early is you're going to take the lead and you're going to get the advantage on the cars that stay out. But if you stay out, you're going to have fresher tires towards the end of the race, especially when it becomes critical for drivers to save their tires if they want to make runs at the end. So expect Clampett to be a little bit slower towards the end unless he plays super conservatively with his tires.
Yeah, but you also can't play it too conservatively. I mean, you've passed Matthew Morton, but you haven't lapped him or anything. You know, he's very much still in the hunt there. They're only separated by about 6 seconds right now. So that is a very doable gap to make up on fresher tires over 33 laps. He came in about 5-6 laps later or so, and every lap that's probably going to be worth a couple of tenths to slowly chip away at that lead. But right now, Drew Jawah has taken over the lead up front. He is 4 seconds clear of Duncan O'Connor. Colin Kolpa currently the third car in this podium. What a drive so far for Colin Kolpa. Going for the extended strat here, going for the overcut, hoping that might be the way to go after a very turbulent day there. But he's currently running third. But right now, last week's winner, Drew Jawah, he won Vegas on a gamble on strategy. Could he do it again here at Kentucky?
It would certainly be an interesting call, as I think he's going to really hope push for a caution in about the next 10 or 15 laps or so. You can see Logan Clampett, what is that, 10, 15, about 20, about a half a lap behind right now. He is the front runner of the cars that have already come down pit road right now. It's Jawah, O'Connor, Kolpa, Wiest, Schulenberger, and Wallet that have stayed out and not yet made their pit stop at this moment. And I think at this point, a lot of these drivers are going to be committed to the strategy. We're going to try and stay out as long as possible, hope for another late race caution. And given the statistics don't lie, they're working. Caution, our average last caution comes out with less than 10 laps to go. And we've gone to overtime in at least 5 or 6 of our past of the races over the past couple seasons. So the statistics work in their favor, but only have to.
Yeah, it's certainly willing to bet that there will be there could be a caution late in this race. It would not be unheard of here in the CIL, but right now, as things keep rolling, Drew Jawah content just to try and hold on to that position as Matthew Morton has officially unlapped himself. You see him roll by the 3, and you can see the difference on older tires to fresh tires as you saw the 13 fly past the 3. You see the 5 doing it as well. That is your difference through each corner on fresh tires versus the older ones. So it's that gap each and every corner that's going to get made up. But will the gap be enough? Obviously, those cars in the top 4 right now still need to come down pit road if they want to have enough fuel to make it to the end. But you can see the difference it made between the undercut and the overcut. And as we get closer to the end of this race, if it stays green, you'll start to see the inverse happen with those who came down pit road so late. They'll have that speed advantage, unlike the cars who have that run right now. Clampett has moved up to 4th. Morton still in 6th. The gap hasn't really changed too much between the two as Schulenberger now comes down pit road. Yeah, that gap's still a little over 6 seconds, so not much has changed so far between the 04 and the 13. Those are the two cars who are 1-2 before the pit cycle, and they're only 3 positions away from cycling back to the front. But there's still a lot that could happen before that occurs.
And there's always the possibility for a caution here in the CIL. You just never know.
Yeah, the easiest way to put it. As you see, that's Andrew Stagey there working his way around the outside of Drew Joie, trying to get his lap back there. The Ball State driver was caught up in an earlier incident, trying just to keep the hammer down, get as many points as he can. He's currently scored 29th, but on the lead lap, so definitely fighting for position. There's no doubt about it.
Logan Clampett now up to 4th. He's about 16 seconds back, a half a lap from the lead, and he's working his way up through the field pretty quickly. You can see those intervals coming down. He's bringing Matt Morton, Tim Robb, and Drew Williams with him as well. So,
speaking of
if it stays as it is, it's going to work out in their favor.
Yeah, I was say, speaking of folks we haven't seen too much tonight, Tim Moore has, I believe, also pit. He's now running 8th, so the pit strategy has fallen into place perfectly for the Daytona winner from Manhattanville College. He is very much still in this hunt as well, only less than a second back of Robin Williams. You see the 074 there from Manhattanville. He's very quietly put himself in a really good position for a good points haul today. As there's about 25 laps to go now as Drew Joie hits the stripe. And, you know, this gap from Clampett and Morton, it keeps shrinking down a little bit as each lap passes away.
Fina Leclerc as well up into the top 10. She's up there on pace, involved in an incident early on in the race. Got spun completely around on the front stretch, but good to see that St. Clair car work her way back up into the top 10. Yeah, not a lot of action out there right now, but we're all still holding on to the edge of our seats because we're looking to see where this strategy goes. If Drew Jawa comes down pit road, we know he will have to at some point by the end of the race, but he is out here hoping, praying, and begging for a caution. As I think some of these drivers that came down pit road early, I think they would have to come down pit road as well because they're going to want these pressure tires. Let's see, those pit stops started about lap 85-ish, so they're on, lap 90, so they're on about 25 lap old tires, and we saw early on in the race even an interval lower than that, 18, 17 laps. What a difference that made. So I think the momentum bar is kind of swinging towards Jawa and Wiest at the moment. That is, if Clampett doesn't get around them. It's 12 seconds now from Jawa to Wiest, and a second and change from Wiest to Clampett. But the top 5 pretty spread out at the moment. Right now, the biggest battle is Matthew Morton, Tim Robb, and Drew Williams going at it for the 4th position. But all eyes are still on this number 3 car out front. Can he pull this off? Will we get the late race caution that will work plenty into his favor?
Yeah, he's running out of time to do so, though. I can't imagine there's much fuel left into the tank. And you know, he's still maintaining a decent gap as you see Clampett now closing in with pace on the timing tower onto the back of Jacob Wiest. About to get around the 600 car, and then there'll be no more cars on the timing tower between
and he's done it
and the lead and Drew Joie. So it's really come down to you've made your bed. Now you got to see what happens, but it really is not looking great now for last week's winner. He's got the lead, but that's about the only positive thing you can say about his current predicament, because I do not believe it's going to be like that for very long.
And you know the interval, the gap between lap times is about a second a lap, so give it 10 laps and change for Clampett to catch up to Jawa. But it's a different story trying to get around. We're going to see if Clampett has saved his tires enough to where he's able to get around the 3 with relative, or if Jawa is going to really put up a fight and say, "Screw this pace differential. I'm going to make you go around me. I'm going to fight you for this," which I would expect to see a fight for the lead if that happens. As we're going to go side by side, this is the battle further on in the back of the field. Logan Clampett working all over the back bumper lap traffic. He's going to try and work his way up through the field. That gap is now down to 8 seconds, just over 8 seconds between first and second. The difference in the strategies at the moment, the Clampett is running out of time to get up to the front. But I think the timer on Jaywa's fuel tank is a little bit shorter at the moment.
More important to me in this moment, looking at the timing tower, is not the gap between Clampett and Drew Jawa, but the gap between Matthew Morton and Logan Clampett has come down by over a second since Matthew Morton has come down pit lane. So all of a sudden, it's not nearly a fast enough rate, but those tires are starting to be noticeably more strong than Logan Clampett's at the moment. It's not a huge rate of progress, but he has chopped a second off of that gap over the past 8 or 9 laps or so. So something to keep an eye on there, because we do know if this stays green, Drew Jawa will have to come down pit road, and the battle will be between Clampett and Morton. Morton 5 seconds back, but on the fresher tires, and he's starting to drive away from Andrew Williams and the pack behind him as well.
And Williams did come down to pit road before Morton, so the advantage bar goes to Morton when it comes to tires. And I believe Tim Robb as well. Robb looks like within a second of Robb, also within a second of Williams at the moment. In fact, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th currently locked in a battle. But we're going to keep our eyes on this car up in the lead, Drew Jawa. That gap down to Clampett, now down to 5 seconds. It's inside of 5 seconds now, so expect within about 5 laps to see Clampett, that 04 from Cal State Fullerton, working on the back bumper of the Chattahoochee Tech car, currently in the lead.
Yeah, here he comes. It's down to only 4 seconds now. The pace slowing to a crawl for Drew Jawa at this point. Those tires basically having nothing left to give, and I can't imagine the fuel tank has much more to give than the tires do right now, but seeing this gap down to Clampett, down to 3.1, make it less than 3 seconds now. The gap back from Clampett to Morton down under 4.5 seconds all of a sudden. All of a sudden, there could be a different battle presenting itself by the end of this race. But right now, Drew Jawa just praying for a caution to come out. He's only got maybe 2 or 3 more laps for this caution to come out before this strategy no longer becomes viable.
And Logan Clampett coming out of turn 4 now as Jawa crosses the start-finish line. He's got some lap traffic underneath him as some more drivers. It's Andrew Burrell, the 16 of Schulenberger. And who is that just went underneath him? Is that Culpa?
I think it's Colin Culpa.
It's Colin Culpa able to get another lap back from Jawa.
And now this gap is barely over a second. Now score at less than 1 second between Clampett and Drew Jawa. That 04 coming into the picture, that black car on the inside of R. Muhammad Alif just behind him. The gap back there to Morton as well, down below 4 seconds. But right now, Logan Clampett closing in a hurry. Almost a close call there between Logan Smith and Drew Jawa. Now Clampett going to the outside for the lead here on lap 120, able to get it done with relative ease. Cal State Fullerton takes the lead here with only 14 laps to go. However, that gap back to Morton now south of 3 seconds. This race may not be over yet. Matthew Morton flying up the timing table. What is going on there? Oh, it was on the Jawa. That's why.
It was Jawa. He's absolutely blasted his way around Jawa, as I think that Chattahoochee Tech car has admitted defeat and is going to come down pit road because that gas tank is empty. But you saw momentarily at the bottom right-hand side of your screen a couple of cars getting involved in an incident and very slow on track. No caution was thrown, and that could have been the diamond bit for Drew Jawa to win this race. But the caution did not come out as a result. But Logan Clampett now with a 3.5 second lead over Matt Morton, 4 seconds back from him to Williams. And if this race stays green, this is going to be Logan Clampett's to lose.
Yeah, he's certainly in a really good position to do it here, as there is only 12 laps to go. That 04 car not only has a 3 second gap over the 13 to Matthew Morton, but also looking ahead, there's not a ton of cars directly in his way at the moment. So a little bit of open driving room. You can pick the lane you want to run, and they're going to really be able to do almost just clinical time trial kind of laps the rest of the way here until lap traffic presents itself. But right now, that does not seem to be a case.
Plenty of clean air for Clampett as we're going to approach 10 laps to go this time by. They're going to get the 10 fingers in the air from Barney this time around. Clampett, he's done everything right tonight. You know, he dodged the incident that he could have been in that could have ended his race early on in this event. But he was able to get through that and has slowly and meticulously worked his way up through the field. Had a great battle for the lead with Matt Morton. But some contact there kind of took him out of that for a few laps. And right as he was about to catch Morton, he pulled the trigger, came down pit road, got the pit stop done, came back out on track, and the strategy has worked in his favor. But that gap is coming down ever so slightly. It was 3.6 seconds about 2 or 3 laps ago, but now down to 3 seconds, just under 3 seconds. Matthew Morton may be trying to relaunch an attack here at the end of the race to try and take the lead away at the last second.
One thing I've noticed over the past 20 laps or so, maybe make it 25 since Matthew Morton came down pit road, he seems to be chopping about a second off of the gap between him and Clampett about every 6 or 7 laps. He does not necessarily have the time at the rate we're going here, but if for some lap traffic were to potentially get in the way of the 04, you never know what could happen. But right now we're looking at about 8 laps to go, a 3-second gap. It's not looking likely, barring something crazy happening there, for a return to victory lane for Ohio State.
Here once again is the pass for the lead. Clampett, look at this pace differential. Just dusts the 3 of Jaywalk coming out of turn 2, gets the better run on the better tires down the backstretch, and Clampett never looked back. Jaywalk came down to pit road within about a lap of that maneuver happening. I was going to say something, but I completely lost my train of thought. Oh, yeah, Clampett, if he's able to finish this race with inside 5 laps to go, it looks like he's going to do it. He will become the first repeat winner this season, the only driver with 2 wins at this point. Another thing to keep an eye out for is the numbers of drivers of the ticker tower on the left. You can see everybody inside the top 5, either single digit or double digit. Those are student drivers. They are representing the student class here in the CIL. Our first alumni right now is Tim Moore from Manhattanville. Of the 3 number drivers, he's currently racing with Jonathan Deerkop for the alumni win tonight. So even though Tim Moore might finish 6th here, overall he will be credited at this point with the alumni win. So he will be able to get some major points for both him and Manhattan College to try and overtake Colin Kolpa and Indiana University in the alumni individual and school championships. So if the results stay as is, we'll be hearing from him as well.
I also want to give a quick shout out to the car currently in 9th, Dylan Godinez, the 808 from Penn College Technology. He started this race back in 39th, and after some strategy to get him track position, he has not looked back. He's been able to retain that running position, and he's been hovering around the top 10 all night, and right now is currently sitting 9th. It'd be a plus 30 position day for him as he's battling with Athena Leclerc at the moment. So a really strong day for the Penn College Technology driver. As he looks like he'll be getting a really strong points haul after a bit of a lackluster qualifying effort. But coming up, going into turns 3 and 4 here, Logan Clampett, when he comes to the line, it'll be 3 laps to go at the stripe, Zach.
Yeah, it's going to be 3 very quick, either very quick or very long laps for Clampett, as he is all by himself, nobody in front, nobody behind. The closest car behind him, I believe, is Andrew Burrell of Clemson University, some lap traffic, but it's 2 seconds and change back to Matthew Morton. That gap has come down from earlier, but it's not coming down at a quick enough rate for Morton to be able to challenge for the race win. When Clampett comes around, it's going to be 2 laps remaining in tonight's event.
Here we go. 2 laps to go for Cal State Fullerton and Logan Clampett. He's had himself quite the up and down day, starting at the back, moving toward the front, having to avoid a few wrecks in the process. And now, thanks to the undercut on the green flag pit stops during the final stint of the race here, has been able to pull the correct strategy and now sits with a 2-second gap over Matthew Morton. Coming to the line this time around white flag in the air. This will be the final lap of the Bluegrass 200.
One lap remaining for Logan Clampett. He's had a heck of a career in the eNASCAR Coke Series. He's been dominant with a couple of wins and some good finishes in the eNASCAR College iRacing Series as well. And this season, he decided to take a whack at the Collegiate iRacing League to try his hand at the College Cup Series. He won at Auto Club after registering for the league the day of the event. And he's going to make it 2 wins in 2 starts as Logan Clampett and Cal State Fullerton will win at Kentucky.
He'll pick up the victory. Matthew Morton will bring it home second for Ohio State after a really strong start to the race. Just waited a little too long on the pit strategy, but will be able to bring home a really strong points day in second. Drew Williams will round out the podium there for Clemson, 8 seconds back of Matthew Morton. And this field, after the green flag pit cycle, Zach, they really got spread out on that final stint.
We're going to get all of our top 3 finishers into the booth, as well as Tim Moore, our alumni winner, the student lockout 1, 2, 3 on the podium tonight here at Kentucky as Logan Clampett going to burn it down on the front stretch for Cal State Fullerton. A great drive from him tonight, and he's going to secure his 2nd win of the season and in the process become the first driver to do so.
Yeah, first multi-time winner of the season's no easy feat, especially with the amount of talent that there is in this league and the amount of different winners we've had so far. So definitely off to a strong start there for Cal State Fullerton, and definitely trending in the right direction as we move forward into the back half of the regular season. With this already being the 5th race now done and dusted, I mean, we're past the halfway point of the regular season.
Yeah, there's 4 races left in the regular season before we make our cut to the top 10 for the playoffs. And I think a lot of drivers now, they know there's a repeat winner. That's now 2 spots that are available at least for drivers to point their way in to the playoffs. And that's going to make things just more intense. But let's go ahead and talk to the man of the hour, our race winner, Logan Clampett from Cal State Fullerton. 2 starts here in the CIL and 2 wins. Congratulations.
Thank you, Zach.
So take us through the pit strategy call, where you came down pit road and you were able to make it around back on strategy and take the lead away very easily, JWOP, and pretty much run away with the race. Excuse me.
I felt like I didn't really know how many laps to go it was when we went green. That would have been great to know, because usually when you want to split the runs in half. So I just kind of guessed whenever it was halfway through the run and we had like 9 laps left on gas, and I knew it was going to be faster to pit before we ran out of gas. So I pit, and I'm surprised Matt didn't come down the lap after me. I almost wrecked it coming down pit road. It was really sketchy because there's a lot of bumps down there. But yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say short pit. I don't know if I split the run. I have no clue, but it worked out.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly did. Congrats on the win there, Logan. And watching that final stint unfold, once you got around Drew Joa, was there any doubt in your mind that you were going to be able to bring that one home if it stayed green? I mean, the relative back to Morton was coming down a little bit, but probably not at the rate that would have scared you, I'd imagine.
Yeah, for sure. I was just hoping there wasn't going to be a caution or anything like that. I could tell that I was saving tires a little bit better than Matt. I got to him before we pit, and I was just in his dirty air and couldn't get around him because he was parking entry and exiting off really well. So I figured that I should pit before him to try and get around him.
Well, Logan, with that win, you are the first 2-time winner this season. You have further made your way into the College Cup Series playoffs. But the one thing that is a little concerning at the moment is you have to have at least 6 race starts in the regular season to automatically qualify for the playoffs off of wins. So that means you got to come back every race now for the rest of the season if you want a shot at the title. But, 2 starts, 2 wins in pretty dominant fashion, both of them. Is this going to be your run to the championship?
So there's 4 races left in the regular season?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'll oh gosh. Try and make all of them. I'm not sure if I'm going to be I'm not sure if I'm going to be out of town for one of them or not. But we'll see. I'll have to figure it out, but I'd like to run for a championship in this series.
I think everybody would really enjoy seeing you take a whack at the title. But congratulations again on your win tonight. Is there anybody you'd like to thank or shout out while we've got you here on the show?
Yeah, thanks to you guys for broadcasting, obviously, and Titan Esports. I didn't submit my paint scheme in time. That's the EOL at the beginning as well, which is all right. Hopefully, it'll be on the car next week. And Justin Rowden painted the paint scheme, so it looks pretty badass. I wish it was on the broadcast, but that's okay. That's about it. Thank you guys.
Yeah, congratulations again, Logan. We'll hopefully see you back in here soon.
Thank you.
That was tonight's race winner, Logan Clampett. Brought it home first, again in dominant fashion. Our first repeat winner of the season, Alex.
Yeah, and I mean, you pulled the trigger at the right time to come down pit road for that green flag pit cycle, and that's really all she wrote. Kept it clean once he came off pit road and never looked back.
Let's go ahead and talk to our runner-up finisher tonight, Matt Morton from The Ohio State University. Congratulations on another podium here in the CIL. I don't think we've talked to you much this season since the Gen 4 Cup Series over the summer, but it seems like you've got some good momentum working for you now. Take us through this race, the cautions at the beginning, the call to come down pit road towards the end, and the drive to try and catch up to Clampett.
Yeah, in the beginning part of the race, I was just trying to stay in as much clean air as possible. I know Tim and Drew are right behind me, but if I kept that clean air, I would have kept the right front on the car. But as we started going and got longer green flag runs, I noticed Logan was really good at saving that right front, even with me trying to super save. But I saw Logan pit early. I knew he was going to try for the undercut, and I think he made it work very well to his advantage. But I tried to stay out as late as I could because I didn't know if there was going to be an unpredictable caution at all. But even trying to chase Logan down at the last few laps there, I was slowing my pace down so much, but it just fell a little too short. He saved the tires in that car really good.
Yeah, I mean, congrats on the podium there, Matt. I wanted to ask you, with the way that last sort of stint unfolded, there was obviously a number of cautions at the front half of the race. Were you expecting a caution to come out toward the end to try and get you back up alongside the 04, or were you still expecting it to go green all the way to the end?
I was kind of mixed. I wanted it to finish within the time, so go green all the way. But once Logan got in front of me there, I kind of realized that I need a caution to get back into this thing. But it was good to see a green flag run there in the last half of the race. It was good to race it out, but just didn't have enough there at the end towards trying to catch Logan.
Yeah, we saw the battle for the lead between you and Logan relatively early on in that last green flag run, where he made contact with you coming up out of turn 4. Take us through your perspective on that. What happened there?
Oh yeah. Basically, when he was catching me, when he was like 4 or 5 tenths faster than me at that point, I was just trying to hold that seam and kind of cross down into turn 3 and 4. But the way he and I entered the corner, I was just above that seam, so I didn't get that grip off the corner. So I was kind of just plowing towards the wall, and he was just going off my car, I'm guessing. And once I started to lift, I had no opportunity to not hit that wall, and he just hit me in the wrong spot. But it was fun racing like that. I don't think we meant to do that. I mean, it's just hard racing at that point. He was just trying to get around me, and I was making it really tough for him.
And it was a tough battle indeed. But congratulations again, Matthew, on your second place overall finish tonight at Kentucky. Before we let you go, is there anybody you'd like to thank or shout out here on the show?
Thank you guys for making the series possible. I'd like to thank the Buckeye Gaming Collective, a nice student organization at Ohio State. They sponsor my race car, so I got to give a shout out to them. I'll give a shout out to Matt O'Brien and Duncan O'Connor racing with me tonight. And yeah, that's basically it.
Well, congratulations again, man, and I hope we'll see you back here in the booth later on in the season.
Thank you guys. Go Bucks.
That part I'm not going to agree with, but yeah, we'll go with that. That was Matthew Morton, our runner-up finisher, and it sounds like no bad blood between him and Clampett there. It was just a mistake between the two drivers that resulted in that contact. So that goes to show you the respect that these drivers have for each other in this league out on the track.
Yeah, absolutely, especially when you're battling for the race win there. I mean, granted, it was still pretty early on when that contact happened, but ultimately those were the two cars who were battling for the race win most of the back half of the race. So I guess it worked out pretty well for the both of them. Obviously, I'm sure Morton would have liked to have gotten that extra spot, but there's always the next race coming up here in a week.
Let's go ahead and talk to our third place overall finisher, Drew Williams from Clemson University. Congratulations on another podium here in the CIL. We saw last week the undercut strategy on pit road didn't quite work out for you because of the late race caution, but this time you can finally reap the benefits of your strategy call. Third place overall, congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, decided this week I was not going to aggressively undercut and get screwed by that decision, so I went as long as the fuel would take me, and that ended up being the right call against Tim and Clint.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely had a pretty solid run all day there, Drew. It looked like, and ultimately were able to bring it home on the final step of the podium. I wanted to ask you though, during that last pit cycle, I mean, obviously you were kind of on the back bumper of Morton there once things initially settled down on the through the pit cycle. Was there anything you could have done to try and stay with the 13, or was it simply a big difference when you guys came down pit road?
No, I mean, yeah, the 13 is so fast here. He schooled all of us over the summer at Kentucky, and it was a bit of the same thing. I tried to stick with him for a few laps, but lap traffic and people who had stayed out on old tires, and we were on new tires, and it was just in the traffic. I couldn't keep up with him, so I mostly just focused on myself at that point. I knew my battle was with Tim and Clint. It wasn't with Morton or Clampett, so I just tried to bring a smooth operation home.
Smooth operator indeed. Nice. It seems like you got a good run of momentum recovering from last week's unfortunate, I guess, unforced error in strategy, but you're creeping closer and closer towards the playoffs. We're now officially halfway through the regular season. A, do you expect to make it in? And B, is that first win coming?
I mean, this is third top 5 in a row, and frankly, I think I could have had top 5 cars the first 2 weeks also. Yeah, I think at this point I'm pretty comfortable in my points position. I think we've got a solid chance to make the playoffs. As far as a win, man, it's so hard to win here against these guys. Everybody's so fast every single week, so I'm just trying to bring consistent points home. Always circle Darlington on my calendar as somewhere where I can win. I've had, a few very close shots before, but yeah, outside of that, I can't say I'm super hopeful for a win, but with how close Vegas and Bristol got, I'm never going to count it out.
Well, congratulations on your top 3 finish tonight. Before we let you go celebrate, is there anybody you'd like to thank or shout out while we've got you on the show?
Of course, I want to thank and shout out all the guys at Orange Hill Racing. Fun group to race with every single week. They help me get fast and help me stay entertained during our numerous yellow flags tonight. But yeah, just awesome guys to race with, and I want to thank them.
Well, congratulations again, and I'm sure we'll see you back here in the booth.
Awesome, thank you.
That was Drew Williams from Clemson University, third place overall tonight. A nice solid points haul for both himself and Clemson in their championships. And you heard him say that he's got a playoff run again coming his way.
Yeah, I mean, he's really trended in the right direction. He's always been one of the more front-running cars here in the CIL over the past few seasons, and was able to finally put it all together over the summer in the Gen 4 series. But that momentum seems to have carried over here into the next gens in the fall, and 3 top 5s to his point. I mean, that back-to-back weeks now of a really, really strong points haul is putting him in a really, really good position on the back half of the regular season.
Now, our top 3 were all students, so let's go ahead and go all the way down to 6th place overall, where we find our first alumni finisher, Tim Moore from Manhattanville College, Daytona 250 champ. But you got the alumni win. There's a very good chance that you will overtake Colin Culpa in Indiana University in the alumni standings. Congratulations on that alumni win. We saw you had a bit of an up and down day, but you put it all together there at the end after the last pit stop. Take us through your day.
Yeah, we didn't really qualify well. This was actually, I think, the first time this season where we kind of qualified outside, the top half of the bunch. We qualified 26th. And the first little run before the caution started coming out, we progressed ourselves up to about 14th, 13th. Kind of working the middle line, and unfortunately we caught some trouble in the pits. A lot of guys, I don't know what happened. I don't know if they went wrecking or whatever, but just like how the last 2 weeks have happened, unfortunately, bad luck has happened directly in front of me early on in races. So we had to take about 15, 20 seconds of damage, which really put us in a hole because we got sent all the way back to 37th. And we never really got things going until we finally got that green flag run. And felt like around 46 laps to go, it was about the time I felt like I was really, really good at saving my tires compared to a lot of the guys, at least that were ahead of me at the time. So I felt like I had a good chance if I short pit, put myself in the spot. And we were able to do that. It stinks a little bit. I wish I had a little bit more, maybe pit 2 laps later. Maybe I would have had a chance at Tim Robb there at the end for a top 5 overall. But just proud of the run. For the last 2 weeks, or really since Daytona, it's been, down. I don't want to say downhill, but for me, performance-wise, it's been a little bit, unmotivating in regards to the fact that you want to perform well, and it feels like you're putting the performances together, but you just can't get that result. For me to do that today feels good. Yeah, getting the alumni win as well is great. Obviously, want to be in victory lane overall, but we need to think points moving forward, and I'm glad we were able to do that today, especially with Culp having an unfortunately bad day here tonight.
Yeah, I mean, congrats on the alumni win and the points that'll come with it there, Tim. One thing I wanted to ask you, with the a lot of the chatter I've seen post race here was how the right sides would really wear if you weren't careful. And you mentioned that you were feeling like you were pretty comfortable with your tire save compared to some of the drivers around you. Was that something that you were planning on doing going in, where you were going to really try and set yourself up for the longer green flag runs, or was it just as that last stint went on, you realized that a lot of the people around you had burned up their stuff?
Yeah, Alex, when I think about it, this is the only track I can truthfully think of that I've been to in the past before the next gen had its update, where the car handling, I don't want to say didn't change, but it kind of felt the same in terms of the approach to the line. And one thing I really did to kind of counter it, which I don't typically do a mile and a half, to be truthfully honest with you, but I felt like downshifting in turn 3 was going to really, really help me on the long run. And I felt like we were consistently shifting. It was something I noticed Logan Clampett do at Auto Club, which really helped him on the long run. And I don't know if Logan did it today, to be honest with you. I would imagine he did as the run went on. But I felt that that was a good way of protecting my right front a little bit and trying to back up the corners as much as I can. But, this track definitely, I don't want to say it's one lane because that middle lane was prevalent early on in the runs, and was really actually good for passing. But you just had to really put yourself in a spot track position wise to make something happen. So I would say tires definitely played a factor, but it was important for me to back up those corners and try to get aggressive, downshifting in this next gen to make something happen.
Yeah, you talked about the downshifting, how that changed. You talk about the tires, how that changed. How did the track change, if at all, over the course of the run? Did you find that there were certain lines that worked better at different points in the run?
I mean, I would say by yourself. Obviously, the bottom lane was the spot to be. I mean, in one, the big thing too, and to go back to the previous question as well briefly, just for a moment, is that I felt like to save the tires, you had to really back off that entry. Another thing that I noticed Clampett doing in practice, which is a big help, to see how you're kind of saving tires and approaching the corners. I felt like you had to do that by yourself, but to make passes after I'd say about 15, 20 laps on the tires, you probably, unless you had the tire advantage, there after that last green flag pit stop, you had to make a move on the outside of the middle line, really protect your right rear, if somebody was going to try to pass you. So I felt like that was the spot to make passes, if that makes sense. But I didn't really see the track really change lane wise as the race went on. It only, of course, got tighter as we had more and more wear on the track. But it definitely felt like it was one laned when you're by yourself and you had to use the middle line when you could. I would say the only other track, to be honest with you, that I think I could compare that to a sense is maybe Indianapolis on the oval, where you want to protect in that second lane and then be on the bottom as much as you can. Maybe a couple other intermediates and short tracks, of course, but at least from a fast track perspective, definitely more unique track. To be honest with you, I like coming here a lot. I feel like it tells a true factor of who can save the tires and put themselves in good spots.
Well, congratulations on the big alumni series points haul tonight. Before we let you go celebrate with your Nexus Esports teammates, is there anybody you'd like to thank or shout out here on the show?
Yeah, I want to thank you guys again in the booth, for being here every single week, putting on a good product for everyone to watch. And again, I said the last time when I won at Daytona, I'm very appreciative, regardless. I know that we've had ups and downs with Rex the last few weeks, but, to have an opportunity to showcase, Manhattanville College or, just colleges in general in this series to me is absolutely remarkable, especially getting an opportunity to do it as a graduate. So for that, I'm thankful. And again, I want to thank Drew, whatever, telling me what at least his strategy was and his approach and trying to do things and, thanking the guys that are up there, trying to be competitive, racing clean, that have raced me clean every week. I had a lot of fun racing with Drew Williams there at the end, getting to see his strategy as well as Tim Robb and so many others. So I'm real thankful.
Yeah, congratulations, man. We'll hopefully see you back up here in the booth soon.
Indeed, thank you.
That was overall 6th place finisher and alumni class winner from tonight, Timothy Moore from Manhattanville College. And it sounded like the key to success in tonight's race was really kind of predicting how the car was going to change. The car and the track both were going to change over the course of the run and reacting accordingly.
Yeah, it really was. I'll be honest, I will defer more to you for how that interview went. The moment after I finished that question, I saw a roach walking on the HDMI monitor on the HDMI cord on my second monitor. So I was a little sidetracked addressing that. So I'll take your word for whatever that conversation was with Tim. But otherwise, yeah, it's now contained, neutralized, good to go. So unrelated to anything that just happened. I just felt like sharing that with the world. But yeah, no,
Roach crisis averted.
Yeah, definitely. I was sitting there. I'm like, oh, good thing I can mute my mic real quick because I was like, I cannot let this thing get away from me.
Yeah.
So with that being said, I honestly had a good time here watching this Bluegrass 200. It was a very different race from a lot of the races we've had so far this season, which were a lot of them were very sprint at the end sort of races. This was very much a marathon in the back half, and you had to put yourself in the right position to get it done.
Yeah, and the winners and those who finished well did so because of their strategy call. They did so because they kept the car beneath them. They were able to manage the tires. They were able to use resources accordingly into their advantage better than the rest of the pack. This wasn't a race that was outright won off of speed. It was off of like you said, a marathon. It was won off of consistency and pace and being able to get the job done and finish exactly. So congratulations to all of our podium finishers tonight, and I think that is going to bring us to our final race results from tonight's Bluegrass 200. Take it away, Alex.
You betcha. So Logan Clampett and Cal State Fullerton get it done here tonight in the Bluegrass 200. They'll pick up the victory. We also heard from Matthew Morton and Drew Williams of Ohio State and Clemson, respectively. Tim Robb from American University brings it home fourth. Clint Halterman from UNC Charlotte rounds out your top 5. Tim Moore, who we had the opportunity to talk to, got the alumni win for Manhattanville College in 6th. Also from the alumni division, Jonathan Deerkop had a good run tonight, finishing 7th for UCF. Duncan O'Connor for Nova Scotia Community College brings it home 8th. Dylan Godinez goes plus 30 positions from 39th to 9th tonight. They're bringing home inside the top 10 for PCT. And Jake Cummings rounds out our top 10 for Wingate University in a very spirited drive.
Athena LeClaire will finish P11 for St. Clair College. Major Monsivas will finish 12th for Texas A&M International. 13th goes to Garrett Vighton in Arizona State University. Colin Culpa will finish P14 for Indiana University. Matthew Nordberg, a good strong finish for him tonight inside the top 15 for NC State. Brandon Schulenberger finishes 16th for Wingate University. 17th goes to Austin DeLong and the Penn College of Technology. Drew Jawa will finish 18th for the Chattahoochee Technical College. I believe that is
It's either
by
Logan
my
Smith
results,
or Thomas
Logan
Toomey.
Smith.
It's one of the two.
Yeah. Logan Smith for Auburn University will finish 19th, and Jason Wallet will finish 20th for Drexel.
Jacob Weist will bring it home 21st for UNC Charlotte tonight. Michael Sidor for PCT in 22nd. Timothy Wilms from Drexel will bring it home 23rd, and Ball State's Andrew Stagey will finish 24th. Alex Hallinar from Binghamton University will be the last car one lap down in 25th. Baruch's Edward Sanchez had a good run going early on, but will bring it home 26th tonight. R. Muhammad Ali from Ball State will finish 27th. Kelton Quick will be bringing home 28th tonight from Ball State. He is 2 laps down as well. Andrew Burl from Clemson will be 29th, 3 laps down. And Tyler Klingensmith in his first race of the season tonight will bring it home 30th for Robert Morris.
Saren Bartholomew for St. Clair College finishes 31st. Nick Stockner, the birthday boy from Clemson, after leading some laps early on, got caught in an incident. 32nd. Andrew McCall finishes 33rd for Purdue. Sky Schreck, also a good run for them tonight, caught up in some incidents, but will finish 34th for Oklahoma. Robert Morris University's the Cal car of Jonathan Egge will finish 35th. Edwin Onofre 36th for UNT. Matthew O'Brien 37th for Michigan Tech. Thomas Toomey finishes 38th for the University of Virginia. UNC Charlotte Spencer Brown finishes 39th. St. Clair's Zach DeWale finishes 40th, and the last spots on track go to Matthew Burton from East Tennessee State, a pinball night for him, and a couple of St. Clair cars rounding out the field, Robbie Vrabel Jr. and Tristan LeClaire, and that will do it for tonight's Bluegrass 200. You saw a couple of the cars there that did not qualify for the event. Hopefully back out on track later on this season next week. Well, the dirt has settled, and the College Cup Series version of the Kentucky Derby to an end, and Logan Clampett and Cal State Fullerton had become the first repeat winners of the season. Our drivers went elbows out for 200 miles, and Clampett stood out as the high roller above the rest. With tonight's race done and dusted, that means we are officially halfway through the fall 2023 regular season, and only 4 more races stand between our drivers and the playoffs. And we know for a fact at this point, at least 2 drivers will have the ability to get into the playoffs on points, but that can surely change at any time. And as we look further on in the regular season, next week in the College Cup Series, we'll trade the Green Hills of Kentucky for the blazing deserts of Arizona as we move to Phoenix International Raceway for the Avondale 150. It's a 1-mile intermediate track that races like a short track, and Phoenix has played host to some incredible CIL finishes past, including when our fall 2022 championship came down to less than a second between Jared Kaler and R. Muhammad Alif. So be sure you don't miss any of that action next Monday night. The Ignition Zone pre-race show will begin at 8:30 Eastern, and on-track coverage will begin at 9. And if you can't wait for more CIL action, the Formula College World Championship heads to the Lone Star State for our Texas Grand Prix from the Circuit of the Americas. Coda put on some great CIL action in the old GT3 Challenge, and surely we'll see some more in our Open Series. Our Muhammad Alif and Ball State have a commanding lead in the championship at the moment, but can Virginia's Thomas Toomey and Kent State's Jordan Johnson stop the runaway? Find out this Wednesday night when On Track begins at 8:45 Eastern live here on the CIL Twitch and YouTube channels. And Alex, I believe that is going to do it for us tonight. So on behalf of myself, co-commentator Alex, and producers Christian and Keith, as well as all of us here at the Collegiate Eye League, we'd like to thank you for tuning in to tonight's Bluegrass 200. And until next time, stay fast.